Chapter 105. With a large sum of money in his pocket, Han Xiao could afford to spend lavishly. He bought a new batch of parts from Fabian. One day later, Han Xiao used his advanced skills to strengthen all his equipment and created a new piece of equipment with a new blueprint. The electromagnetic skate shoes looked like a pair of metal boots. The heels and soles of the shoes were equipped with a special device that could reduce the friction on the ground by using the effect of a special electromagnetic field. The high-energy battery inside the boots would provide power, allowing the user to skate on all kinds of terrains like ice skating. The speed was comparable to that of a car, and the energy could support the maximum power for 20 minutes. He painted the hover boots in black and silver. It looked very fashionable. He also added a layer of breathable mesh and a sponge pad. The outside was covered with a layer of leather. It was very comfortable to wear and could be worn during normal times. There was no need to change into it during battle. Soon, the Rothschild family came looking for him. In Hotel Vitalia, Alphonse was sitting in the VIP room with his hands on his knees, waiting for the arrival of the guest. The door opened, and Han Xiao walked in. Alphonse stood up and extended his hand elegantly. His voice was mellow and magnetic. "Alphonse, I am from the Rothschild family. I have something to discuss with you." Han Xiao extended his hand and shook his hand. He felt Alphonse's thumb pressing on his hand. He shook it steadily and firmly. This kind of handshake was a habit of a person in a high position. It was a territorial gesture that gave the feeling of wanting to control the other party. Han Xiao was very familiar with this kind of handshake. His old man shook hands with others like this. The principle was actually very simple. It was like how a pervert would scratch the back of a girl's hand when he shook hands with her. Different positions, occupations, and identities had different habits. Subordinates who asked for help from their superiors, men who wanted to show their gentlemanliness in front of women, strangers who met for the first time, and two people who were in a high position fighting openly and secretly. Alphonse's position was obviously not a simple messenger. Han Xiao had already guessed the purpose of the Rothschild family's visit. The two of them sat down, and Alphonse said, "The Rose Militant's bounty has been out for almost 3 years. Countless assassins have returned empty-handed. Mr. Black, I am very surprised that you were able to complete it alone. You flatter me. It's just a normal operation. It's not worth mentioning. Not worth mentioning." "You don't sound like you're not worth mentioning," Alphonse thought to himself. The two of them exchanged a few words casually. Han Xiao went straight to the point. "Our relationship is only that of an employer and an assassin. We have nothing to do with each other once the mission is completed. Obviously, you're not looking for me for the reward. You guessed right. I'm looking for you to ask you some questions." Alphonse nodded and suddenly leaned forward. This action gave him a sense of oppression. He stared at Han Xiao and asked in a deep voice, "Did you go to an abandoned base in the Samar Desert?" As Alphonse spoke, he observed Han Xiao's expression and eyes. If Han Xiao showed any hesitation, he would immediately know if he was lying. His family had found out about the research project from the experiment log in the abandoned base, and they placed great importance on it. If he could get his hands on the felonious serum, he might be able to discover something extraordinary. Unexpectedly, Han Xiao directly took out a tube of fluorescent yellow serum, placed it on the table, and said indifferently, "Name a price." Alphonse was stunned. He did not expect Han Xiao to be so straightforward. "This thing is useless to me. Since you want it, pay for it." Alphonse glanced at the serum. He was not worried that Han Xiao was lying. Those who dared to cheat the Rothschild family of their money were all dead. "How much do you want?" "That depends on your sincerity." Han Xiao chuckled and acted mysterious. This attitude gave Alphonse a headache. He hoped that Han Xiao did not know the value of the felonious serum. However, judging from Han Xiao's reaction, he seemed to know the value of the serum. After hesitating for a long time, he gave a price that showed his sincerity but was not high enough. 1 million. Negotiations always started with a low price. Alphonse was prepared to pay a high price. There was no such thing as killing and robbing. They were all civilized people. Han Xiao stared at Alphonse for a while before saying slowly, "You don't seem to be sincere with this price." Alphonse was preparing for the negotiation. "I agree. These 2 vials of serum have been stored for decades. I'm not sure if they still have any effect. The value has been greatly reduced. Wait, you agreed? Alphonse was stunned. Han Xiao pushed the serum to Alphonse and chuckled. Let's be friends. Alphonse thought that he was going to pay a high price, but Han Xiao's action made him feel good about him. Alphonse put away the serum and said, the payment will be transferred to your account soon. You will also gain the friendship of the Rothschild family. You have unlocked a new faction reputation. The Rothschild family's favorability towards you has increased by 1,800 points. Rothschild family, friendly, 1-800/3000. Han Xiao smiled. Giving up some money in exchange for the Rothschild family's faction reputation was a good deal. Money could be earned again, but the opportunity to start a new faction was fleeting. Some tycoons and corporations had existed since the old era. After the baptism of war, some had died out, while others had become more established. Their influence spread throughout the military, politics, and business of their respective countries. The Rothschild family was such an existence, and there was a lot of profit to be made. To the players, this was a support faction, and they could purchase some rare items and services. The Rothschild family was one of the Darknet's allies, and this was equivalent to finding a hidden backer in the organization. There were many benefits. Without the gene blending agent, the Felonia serum could no longer be used. It was better to sell it in exchange for other benefits. He still kept a vial of the serum in his hand. Another million entered his account, and he now had 6 million in savings. Just looking at the numbers did not make much sense. For example, players in version 1.0 would be considered rich if they had more than 200,000 in savings when they reached level 30. Over 1 million was an astronomical figure. Only the assets of large guilds could reach that amount. The transaction was completed, and the atmosphere was much more harmonious. Han Xiao asked, "What's Felonia?" He was puzzled as to why a single vial of the serum would attract the attention of so many forces. Alphonse was in a good mood. He explained, there was a country in the Samar Desert that was involved in the Old Era's war. They started a large-scale research project called the Felonia Project. The name was taken from a legend in that country. The specific plan was to build many military bases and conduct research in more than 10 different fields. The serum you have is one of the research projects. Han Xiao was enlightened. So that's how it is. I thought there really was a magic ruin. Alphonse laughed. How can there be magic in this world? You're thinking too much. Han Xiao could only chuckle. He rubbed his chin and thought to himself, there shouldn't be any magic on the Blue Star, but what's with this premonition? This was a dark and deep underground cave. There was no light source, and it was unknown how deep the cave was. Fine sand would occasionally fall from the cracks between the rocks. A wind that should not exist reverberated in the cave. It was like breathing, and there was a faint rumbling sound that sounded like muffled thunder. Suddenly, 6 oval-shaped lights lit up in the dark. They were golden and arranged in 2 rows. They were symmetrical and neat. There was no reference object around them, but by visual inspection, the diameter of each light was no less than 10 meters. The lights flashed very quickly, as if they were blinking. Chapter 106. Alphonse gave the phone to Han Xiao. This is my number. Call me if you need anything. Han Xiao knocked on the table and said, I have some questions. I want to increase my authority in the Blood Pact Society as soon as possible. Do you have any suggestions? Alphonse thought for a while and decided to return the favor to Han Xiao. He asked the waiter to bring over the Blood Pact Society's computer and showed a file to Han Xiao. At the top of the file, there was a clear sign that said, Do not read without permission. Han Xiao raised his eyebrows and looked down. Internal enlistment order, not public, recruitment target, Blood Pact Society assassins, dark grade and above, contract mercenaries, 2-star and above, current number of participants, 18 assassins, 245 mercenaries mission location, River Valley Manor, east of Star Dragon, outside Seagull City, 20 miles north. Mission details, guard River Valley Manor and protect, data hidden. Internal recruitment order, only dark grade assassins and above will be recruited. You are now a Scorpion grade assassin. so it is against the rules to participate in this mission. However, I can help you behind the scenes. Once the mission is completed, you will be promoted to Dark Grade. When you arrive at the location, someone will inform you of the details of the mission. Han Xiao thought to himself, with so many people participating, it would probably be a small-scale battle. He remembered that he could trigger another mission in Seagull City that was easy but had high rewards. He could go there on the way. Let's go take a look first. Han Xiao made up his mind. I didn't expect to return to Star Dragon so soon. Luckily, I won't be recognized. Han Xiao raised his eyebrows. When he left Division 13, the faction relationship on the interface did not change. This meant that Division 13 did not see him as an enemy. There was still some time before his departure, so he returned to the Fabian organization base and built the machine that he had always wanted to build. Second Generation Ranger, combat type. Type, robot quality, dark green basic attributes, 2,200 armor, 37 defense, 168 power level, 83 kilometers per hour maximum movement speed, 646-40 energy height, 1 meters weight, 830 pounds control method, low-level smart chip, program setting, enemy detection, energy source, high energy battery pack X, 4 combat consumption, 6 energy/min, low intensity, 15 energy/min, full power, core power, 310/320 brain module, intelligent fire control system, power usage, 30 I module, electromagnetic scanning lens, allows you to see through obstacles, power usage, 1/5 right arm module, large caliber triple barrel machine gun, attack 70-85, fire rate 3.5/s, capacity 30+90, bullet chain, output level 75, power usage 40, left arm module, large caliber triple barrel machine gun as above skeleton module, K600 power endoskeleton, provides 30 STR, power usage, 40 leg module, triangular track wheels plus shockproof air suspension, reduces impact from harsh terrain and increases movement speed, power usage, 1/5 chest module, mini honeycomb rocket launcher, equipped with mini rockets, attack 180 to 230, explosive damage, capacity, 6 rounds, power usage, 110 abdomen module, magazine, mini rocket launcher X12, additional ammo chain 200, power usage 20 additional ability, volley burst, launch a volley of attacks at the enemy, plus 7% damage additional ability, platinum alloy, increases armor value and reduces physical damage by 11% additional ability, self-destruct, deals 340 to 510 fire damage within a 40-meter radius, destroys after use. Remarks, human tank. The Rangers that were built this time were much more technologically advanced. They were equipped with smart chips, platinum alloy armor, high-energy batteries, and even more powerful firepower. Now, that Han Xiao was much wealthier than when he first entered the Western capital. He did not need to count with his fingers anymore. The cost of a single second-generation Ranger was more than 200,000, and this was even after he had saved a lot of parts due to his technological advancements. At his level, it was impossible for a player like him to play with it. The second-generation Ranger could be used as a mobile fortress, but because the processing chip was not enough to perform three-dimensional tactical thinking and battlefield analysis, it did not have any unique abilities. The powerful combat Rangers could provide firepower support and AoE attacks. Even if they ran out of ammo, the K600 power endoskeleton gave the second-generation Rangers close combat strength. At the very least, they could be used to ram people at full speed. They also had the ability to self-destruct. Now, I can build the Rangers on a large scale, but I can't carry them around. I should find a secret base. Although this type of turret-like robot has powerful firepower, it is not suitable for fast and agile battlefield changes. It can only be used for positional warfare. The main problems are its mobility, core power, and chip processing. I need advanced knowledge, but I don't have the chance yet. I can only maintain the sniper combat mode and continue to improve the sniper. The idea of a robot army could not be formed yet. There were gaps in funding and technology. Han Zhao's large equipment was stored in the Fabian Group's warehouse and transported by plane. This time, he spent 50,000 renminbi to use the Fabian Group's transport service. No one would be as spendthrift as him. The western capital was the capital of Star Dragon, and Seagull City was an important city in the east of Star Dragon. It was huge and had been attacked by a beast tide in history. It suffered heavy losses, but received help from the entire country and became an important city in the east. A monument that was dozens of meters tall stood in the center of the city. It was engraved with the names of all the victims who resisted the beast tide. During the Old Era War, Seagull City was attacked by the Germinal organization on a large scale. Once again, it received help from everywhere and became even more prosperous. This phenomenon was very strange. It was full of disasters, but it developed quickly. The people of Star Dragon thought that this was a good sign. It meant that even if Star Dragon suffered setbacks, it would become stronger and stronger. The spirit of Seagull appeared many times in the annual leadership meetings and news broadcasts. The plane landed in Seagull City's airport. Every city had to pass through the checkpoints to enter and leave the city, but they had to obtain permission from the airport control station to land in the air. The Fabian Group's plane had the permission to land in the airports of every city in Star Dragon. It was considered a private plane. As long as the players had a high enough affinity with the faction, they could also buy it. Speaking of which, why are you here again? Han Xiao turned to look at Antonio. Antonio took a puff of the cigar in his hand and laughed. Unfortunately, the Fabian Group does not have any assets in Seagull City. We can't provide you with any services. We can only lend you the transport plane as a temporary workshop and warehouse. Oh, I see. Han Xiao understood. Suddenly, he realized that he did not have a car to lend. He suddenly felt a headache. He was still a few dozen miles away from the mission location, River Valley Manor. Did he have to resort to the unethical act of stealing cars again? He did have a Thorns, but the problem was that if he were to drive this car on the streets, he would probably be followed by dozens of police cars and a few explosion-proof special police vehicles in less than 10 minutes. As the old saying went, if there was a problem, look for the masses. Han Xiao borrowed a car from a kind-hearted and generous person. He passed through the checkpoint, left the city, and went straight to River Valley Manor. 20 miles north of Seagull City was a small forest with a small river flowing through it. This small forest was inhabited by gentle and small beasts, so it was not very dangerous. The River Valley Manor was located in a shallow river valley in the forest. It was built by the river. This was what Han Xiao saw on the map. When he drove into the forest, it was already afternoon. The lazy sunlight shone through the gaps in the forest, creating a peaceful and natural atmosphere. The sound of the engines startled a few spotted deer that were sleeping. He suddenly wrinkled his nose and smelled a faint pungent smell. After quickly filtering out the humus and bird feces in his mind, he found a memory of a similar smell. His eyes flashed. This is the smell of guns that haven't dispersed yet. A battle broke out here not long ago. To prevent any misunderstandings, Han Xiao stopped the car, took his equipment, and walked. His current appearance was that of a middle-aged man in a black windbreaker who was carrying a guitar case. He looked like a depressed, wandering musician. In fact, he stored the folded Red Falcon sniper rifle and the lightweight mechanical arm. The Berserk Eagle and magazine were hidden under his clothes, and the magnetically controlled retractable armor was hidden close to his body. There was a retractable knife hanging on his waist, and the gloves on his hands were the inactive thermal cutting gloves. He wore silver-gray electromagnetic skateboard boots that were the same size as normal boots. The leather was sewn on the outside, and one would not be able to see the metal material in the boots without pressing them personally. As for Wind Cutter, Thorns, and second-generation Ranger, he did not bring them with him. After walking for a while, he saw clear signs of battle around him. There were burn marks from explosions, scattered bullet casings, ruts, and even burnt car shells. There was more than one. It was clear that the battle was fierce. He could already see the shallow river outside the forest, and River Valley Manor came into view. Han Xiao was about to walk over when he suddenly stopped. The next moment, there was a bullet hole in the ground in front of him. If he had walked forward just now, he would have been hit in the calf. The shot was clearly a warning. Chapter 107. Han Xiao squatted down and dug out the bullet from the ground. He looked at it and realized that it was an armor-piercing bullet. The people in River Cove Manor were probably his own people, so this shot was just a warning shot. Otherwise, it would have been aimed at a vital point. Han Xiao thought about it and took out a bronze coin from his pocket. He raised it and waved it. The snipers in the manor would definitely be able to see it through their scopes. This coin was given to him by Alphonse before he left. He said that it was proof to identify his teammates. After waiting for a minute, Han Xiao walked forward again. This time, no one fired. He successfully arrived at the entrance of River Cove Manor. He realized that the manor had been modified. Countless iron plates were nailed to the outer walls, covering the interior of the manor tightly. There were traces of explosion on the plates. The door opened, and Han Xiao walked in. The layout of River Cove Manor unfolded in front of him. It was very spacious and could be divided into the inner and outer layers. The outer layer was a variety of fortifications. Fully armed mercenaries came and went, patrolling everywhere with guns in their hands. They chatted loudly and were boorish, unlike the taciturn soldiers. The inner layer was the central area. The Fountain Garden Villa was surrounded by black railings, separating the inner and outer layers. Through the railings, he saw that there was no one in the villa and the garden. It was as if no one lived there. "Newcomer, you're an assassin, right?" A burly black man called out to Han Xiao. He was the one who opened the door. Han Xiao looked at his skin color and felt that this black man was the best candidate to blow up the fortress at night, provided that he was naked. The black man did not care about Han Xiao's reaction. He turned on the walkie-talkie and shouted in a hoarse voice, "Chun-Li, there's a new assassin. Come and get him." "Wait for me. I'm on my way." A cursing voice came from the walkie-talkie. The yellow-skinned mercenary named Chun-Li quickly arrived at the entrance. He first gave the black man the middle finger, then looked at Han Xiao and sized him up. "Come with me." Han Xiao followed Chun-Li to the southeast side of River Cove Manor. From Chun-Li, Han Xiao learned about the defensive layout of River Cove Manor. It was divided into 3 sides. The west side faced a river. The attackers might attack on a yacht, but they would be easy targets on the river. The other 2 sides were southeast and northeast, respectively. The overall defensive layout was a triangle. Chun-Li was the person in charge of the mercenaries in the southeast. "What kind of assassin are you?" Chun-Li asked. "Sniper type." "That's good. We need a long-range attacker. Last time, there was an assassin who only knew how to assassinate at close range. He wasn't useful at all." Han Xiao looked back at the central villa and asked the 3 key questions in his heart. Who are we protecting? How long were they going to defend here? Who are the enemies? Perhaps it was because every newcomer would ask these questions, but Chun-Li answered fluently. The higher-ups didn't say how long we'll wait. "Anyway, if we really can't hold on any longer, I'll retreat immediately. No matter how much money they give me, I'm not going to be cannon fodder. We don't know who the enemy is. Sometimes they attack during the day, sometimes at night, sometimes every few days. There's always a new enemy. As for the target we're protecting..." Chun-Li suddenly sneered. "I heard that the target is hiding in the villa, but has never shown himself. The mission forbids us from entering the villa to check. Maybe there's no one in the villa, and we're guarding an empty shell. No matter what the employer's intentions are, as long as they pay. An empty villa, a target that had never shown himself, a draft order with vague instructions, and an enemy of unknown origin. When these factors were connected, Han Xiao felt inexplicably strange. He always felt that there was a cloud of fog shrouding him. "Right, what kind of assassin are you? Dark grade or ghost grade?" Chun-Li asked casually. "Mr. Black, Scorpion grade." Chun-Li suddenly turned around with a look of surprise. "Scorpion grade? Why are you here?" "Only those above the dark grade can receive a draft order. You don't have the qualifications, right?" "Since I'm already here, it doesn't matter what level I'm at." Han Xiao had no intention of explaining to a mercenary leader. In the words of the Act Tough King, "I don't need to explain anything to you in my life. Just one word, pretentious. Although you're only at the scorpion grade, since you're a sniper, just make do with it. Anyway, it's fine as long as you know how to hit people with a sniper rifle. Chun-Li frowned and pointed into the distance, saying, "Do you see those 3 bunkers? You go to the one in the middle. The Poisonous Bee brothers will arrange it for you." Following Chun-Li's finger, the 3 bunkers were located at the intersection of the 2 lines of defense in the southeast and northeast. They were at the apex of the triangular defense area. This position gave the sniper the best shooting field and attack range. However, the disadvantage was that it was too conspicuous. If the enemy attacked, the sniper would be the first to be killed. Fortunately, there were many machine guns and howitzers set up on the outer walls of the bunkers, so the defense was the strongest. Han Xiao had no objection. Before the panel mission was triggered, he had an indifferent attitude. Walking into the middle bunker, he walked up the stairs to the top floor of the bunker, which was also the sniper's position, and found that there were 2 people there. They were holding sniper rifles in their arms and leaning against the wall. When they heard Han Xiao's footsteps, they opened their eyes and looked over. From the cold temperament of these 2 people, he knew that they were both killers. One was tall and the other was short. They looked somewhat similar. They were the Poisonous Bee brothers that Chun-Li had mentioned. "Newcomer," the tall one said lightly, code name, level ability. Han Xiao raised his eyebrows. "Mr. Black, Scorpion Grade, Sniper. Why is a newcomer at the Scorpion Grade here?" The tall one frowned and said impatiently, "You go to the bunker on the left and be the sniper's assistant. You're responsible for taking care of the fish that escaped the net. Can you do such a small thing?" "Okay." Han Xiao nodded. The short one only glanced at him when he entered, then closed his eyes and continued to rest. It seemed that he was too lazy to talk to him. He seemed to be quite arrogant. In the short 10 minutes since he entered the manor, Han Xiao had already changed locations 3 times. He had no choice but to go to the bunker on the left, which was the area he was responsible for. It was equivalent to being the Poisonous Bee brother's assistant. There was already someone in the bunker on the left. It was a bearded assassin. He sized Han Xiao up. After Han Xiao introduced himself, he went straight to the point. "Scorpion Grade? Then you'll be in charge of the left, and I'll be in charge of the right." The left side had the narrowest field of vision, so the mission was the easiest. It was normal that the bearded assassin did not trust his ability. Han Xiao did not have any other thoughts. He just needed to be in charge of his own area. "You have triggered a chain mission, enlistment order, protection, mission introduction. First, do not ask about the identity of the target to be protected. Second, do not leave your post. Third, do not let the enemy attack the manor. Fourth, try to be useful. Hint, this is a chain mission. Please act according to the instructions. First round mission, defeat the first wave of enemies. First round reward, 20,000 EXP. Other mission failure circumstances. 1. Enter the villa area without permission. 2. Leave the manor for more than 120 minutes. Chain mission? Interesting. Han Xiaoxin's heart skipped a beat. Chain missions were basically running rings. He would only know the next one after completing one mission requirement. The difficulty and rewards would get higher and higher. Completing all the rings would give him additional rewards. Usually, chain missions were more complicated. Let's finish the first round and see what the rest of the rewards are like. "I'll leave," Han Xiao thought to himself. He did not have the thought of completing the mission no matter what. He would only do it if the rewards were good. After wandering around the River Cove Manor for a few hours, he figured out the configuration of the people. The mercenaries brought all kinds of heavy firepower and vehicles. There were also some supers. There were also mechanics who repaired equipment, provided ammunition, and repaired the fortifications. The assassins were the more high-end combat power. From the casual conversation, he learned that this group of people had been waiting here for more than 10 days. The powerful people had already shown themselves, such as the Hornet Brothers, Chun-Li, and some other code names, such as Volcano, Moonlight, and so on. The sky turned dark. In the forest at night, the wind rustled the leaves and the river murmured. Everything was quiet. The sound of approaching engines broke the silence. Vroom, vroom, vroom. Han Xiao looked out from the sniper's hole in the bunker. A bunch of headlights appeared in the forest in the distance, and they were quickly approaching. The mercenaries in the manor began to shout loudly and returned to their posts one after another. The dense sound of footsteps sounded like beans being stir-fried. Han Xiao reached out and pulled the bolt. A crisp sound of the mechanism rang out. He also started to adjust his state of mind. Chapter 108. Through the headlights, Han Xiao saw the armed forces of the enemy. All of them were armored vehicles, and they were charging toward him at high speed. Behind them were gunners. The next moment, the mercenaries in the manor opened fire. The heavy machine guns roared, and the flames from the muzzles became the most eye-catching source of light in the dark night. Han Xiao was relieved. The number and firepower of the enemy were average, and they would not be able to break through the blockade of the mercenaries' machine guns. Bang! Han Xiao heard the sound of a sniper rifle coming from the central bunker. The Hornet brothers had made their move, and the two sniper rifles were very accurate. Han Xiao looked at the area he was in charge of. The area was very small, and the angle was tricky. Only those who slipped through the net would dare to enter. At this moment, an enemy team happened to invade. He set up the Red Falcon, aimed, and fired. The shuttle-shaped bullets pierced through the necks of the enemies one by one, and clouds of blood burst out. Big Beard was worried about Han Xiao's ability, so he took some time to take a few glances. Seeing that Han Xiao was basically hitting every shot, he was secretly shocked. He knew that he did not need to worry about this Mr. Black, so he did not turn around to observe and left the other area to Han Xiao. First round completed. You have received 20,000 EXP. Mission requirement changed. Second round mission requirement. Guard River Valley Manor for 3 days. Reward, 80,000 EXP. The first round was too easy, and the EXP seems to be too little. However, this increase is not bad. Han Xiao stroked his chin. 20,000 for the first round, 80,000 for the second round. According to this ratio, the third round might be 320,000, and the fourth round would be over 1 million. Stop, this is a dream. However, to be honest, the third round should be more than 150,000 EXP. The second round would take 3 days, and Han Xiao felt that it was a waste of time. Suddenly, he thought about it and decided that he could stay here to earn more. He could borrow the equipment and lathes brought by the mercenaries and help them repair their equipment for free. He was a man of action, so he immediately headed to the logistics area and found some maintenance workers. Most of these people were pseudo-mechanics who had learned maintenance as their secondary profession. There were only 2 proper mechanic supers. You want to help us repair it? A maintenance worker was surprised. You're a mechanic? Han Xiao directly used his actions to prove it. He picked up a pistol on the workbench, dismantled it quickly, and then magically reassembled it. The whole process was done in one go, and it did not take more than 2 seconds. He was no longer a novice who needed 40 seconds to assemble a pistol. With the various enhancements of his abilities, his manufacturing and assembly speed had already surpassed the limits of ordinary people. The group of maintenance workers agreed without hesitation. They were even a little impatient. Maintenance was hard and tiring, and it was also voluntary work. Since there was someone who volunteered to be the coolie, the maintenance worker could not wait to throw all the work to this official mechanic who had suddenly appeared. Early in the morning before dawn, Chun-Li carried a damaged machine gun and went to the logistics area to find a mechanic he was familiar with to repair it. Wang Shi, help me repair this machine gun. Wang Shi was a thin, middle-aged man wearing a singlet. He was resting with his eyes closed. When he heard the question, he opened his eyes and looked at Chun-Li. He said in a casual tone, "Leave it there. I'll fix it when I have time. Please hurry up. I might need to use it during the day." Wang Shi said impatiently, "All right, I'll fix it for you later." Chun-Li walked away helplessly. Although Wang Shi had a bad temper, he was a true mechanic supers with excellent skills. In order to not damage the machine gun at the critical moment of the battle, he could only ask Wang Shi for help. After Chun-Li left, Wang Shi closed his eyes again and started to nap. 5 minutes later, Wang Shi heard footsteps approaching again. He opened his eyes impatiently and saw that it was Chun-Li. He said angrily, "What are you in such a hurry for? I'll fix it for you when the time comes." Stop bothering me. Chun-Li shook his head and said, "Return the machine gun to me. I'll find someone else to fix it." Wang Shi frowned. Although he was unhappy that Chun-Li kept bothering him, he did not want the machine gun to malfunction. After all, he was also in the manor. Thus, he softened his tone and said, "That person's skills are not good. I'll start fixing it when the sun rises. Is that okay?" Unexpectedly, Chun-Li insisted on getting the machine gun back. "No need. That person's skills are better than yours." Wang Shi was instantly dissatisfied. The logistics area was only so big. Who did not know who was better? The other official mechanic was not as good as him, and those repairmen were even worse. Who were you trying to fool? Under Chun-Li's insistence, Wang Shi had no choice but to return the machine gun to Chun-Li. Seeing Chun-Li walk to the other side of the logistics area, Wang Shi had an idea and followed him. He wanted to see who this mechanic that was better than him was. As soon as he arrived, Wang Shi was shocked. He saw a group of salted repairmen surrounding a man in black. They were staring at the man in black. Their faces were filled with shock, envy, and eagerness to learn. Wang Shi took a closer look and was stunned on the spot. He saw that the man in black's hand speed was like a phantom, quickly operating all kinds of equipment and repairing multiple weapons at the same time. It was so smooth that it was scary. There was no need for him to stop and think. Wang Shi had never seen such a technique before. It could only be a mechanic with a higher level than him. The repairman originally had the mentality of throwing all the work to Han Xiao. However, when Han Xiao started his repairs, his extremely fast speed attracted all the repairmen. They were mesmerized by Han Xiao's performance. They wanted to take out a notebook and record every step of Han Xiao's. Many details gave them great inspiration. If it had an interface, a message would appear. "You have observed Han Xiao, LV34, performing mechanical repairs. You have learned something. Repair skill proficiency increased." Another mechanic, whose skill level was about the same as Wang Shi's, also stood at the side and looked at Han Xiao with a mesmerized expression. Wang Shi realized that Han Xiao's technique was flawless. To be more precise, his skill level was not enough to find Han Xiao's flaw. He was depressed and wanted to turn around and leave, but he could not help but stop. He could not control his desire to stay and watch Han Xiao's technique. He was conflicted, without caring about the thoughts of others. Han Xiao was immersed in his repairs, and his experience increased rapidly. The effect of level 1 fine repair was far better than simple repair. The two skills were not on the same level. Basic weapons and machines could be repaired very quickly. If it were not for the fact that the equipment was too simple, the efficiency could be increased even more. For 3 consecutive days, other than resting, Han Xiao spent all his time fighting and repairing machines. In the 3 days, there were a total of 4 waves of enemies. There were yachts, armored vehicles, sneak attacks, and everything else. A group of enemies wearing frogman suits tried to sneak in from the river in the west, but they were discovered and killed by the snipers. The intensity of the enemy's attacks increased gradually. By the 4th wave, Han Xiao could feel that the guards of the manor were starting to lose their strength. After days of continuous high-intensity battles, the accumulated fatigue exploded, and mistakes and casualties started to appear. The mercenaries' tough battle did not affect Han Xiao much. He was in charge of his own small area, shooting and shooting people. He realized that there were more and more fishes that slipped through the net, and the Hornet brothers were starting to show their shortcomings. 2nd round completed. You have received 80,000 EXP. This is not bad. The 3rd round is probably going to become really difficult. Han Xiao woke up from his light sleep. Adding the experience from a mission and the experience from the 3 days of manufacturing and killing enemies, he had received a total of 180,000 EXP. This efficiency was acceptable. Mission requirement has changed. 3rd round mission, resist the next wave of attacks. Reward, 150,000 EXP. It really is 150,000 EXP, Han Xiao complained. This mission requirement made him feel unusual. Chapter 109. Rumble. A thunderstorm raged. The night sky was torn apart by the dazzling lightning, and the torrential rain poured down. The rain narrowed the field of vision and greatly affected the accuracy of shooting. Weapons and equipment were prone to getting wet, so the mercenaries could only brace the storm and quickly cover the machine guns with waterproof cloths and move the ammunition into the roof sheds. The heavy rain filled the sky, and the sound of rain filled the ears. The bunker was filled with water vapor. Han Shao moved away from the window to avoid being splashed. He looked at the sky outside, raised his eyebrows, and whispered, "This kind of bad weather is an obvious flag. If the next wave of strong enemies doesn't come now, I'll immediately." Halfway through his sentence, Brother Shao hurriedly stopped himself. What a joke! How could he set up such an obvious poison healer? Virum! A series of engine sounds rang out in the rain. This time, the battle was fierce. More armored off-road vehicles drove in the heavy rain, and the dense raindrops hit the cold armor. Open fire! The mercenaries in the manor roared. The machine guns and howitzers roared. The next moment, even more ferocious firepower erupted from the enemy's fleet. A few small rockets hit the outer wall of the manor, blowing 2 machine guns and the operators into the sky. Han Shao fired while listening to Chun-Li and the black man roaring through the walkie-talkie. The enemy has rockets. Pay attention to avoid them. Machine gunners and howitzers, beat them up. Snipers, hurry up and shoot. Don't make me King rush you. Hurry up and do something. There are more than 20 local yachts on the river. People in the west, hurry up and stop them. Don't let them get close to the shore. CK, helicopters. The sound of rotors came from the sky. 5-winged snake-armed helicopters invaded from the sky. Lightning flashed in the night sky, illuminating the ferocious appearance of the helicopters. The gunners wearing goggles controlled the large-caliber, 6-barreled aviation cannon mounted on the side of the helicopter, bursting out terrifying firepower. The bullets of the autocannon were almost equivalent to mini cannonballs. Their penetrative power and destructive power were not something that a normal machine gun could compare to. Their firing speed was also very fast. With a series of crackling sounds, the bullets formed an orange line as they swept downwards. The front of the manor was not of much use. The mercenaries' casualties soared. Curses, screams, roars, rain, gunshots, engines, and the rumbling of thunder formed a symphony of war, grand and tragic, chaotic and passionate. The helicopter was the biggest threat. A portion of the machine gunners raised their guns to shoot at the aircraft. With a simple lift, the Y-5-winged Serpent was out of the range of ordinary machine guns. Some stray bullets could not penetrate the helicopter's armor. Sniper! Kill the pilot! Chun-Li roared. We'll deal with the helicopters. As for the other snipers, don't let the ground troops attack us. The Hornet brothers in the central bunker gave the order over the communication network. Then, the 2 brothers started firing at the helicopter. Even though the rain was hazy, Han Shao could clearly see the sparks from the sniper rifle on the exterior armor of the helicopter. The pilot's window was made of highly resilient bulletproof glass, so it would take at least 7 or 8 shots to penetrate it. Han Shao suddenly felt that something was wrong. He quickly retracted his gun and backed away from the sniper's window. Don't leave your post without permission. Big Beard roared when he saw this. However, before he could finish his sentence, a violent explosion interrupted him. The wall of the bunker exploded violently. Big Beard was directly sent flying by the shockwave and slammed into the wall on the other side. His arm was fractured and twisted, and he screamed in pain. 2 Y-5-winged Serpents were equipped with 4 missiles used for air combat. They directly bombarded the 3 bunkers. The central bunker was focused and blasted into the sky, turning into a pile of ruins. The Hornet brothers were killed without a sound. Their flesh, blood, dust, and broken bricks were thrown out together. The 3 bunkers were blown up. The sentence above sounded a little weird. Without the threat of the snipers, the helicopters were like wild dogs in heat. They were even more rampant. The coverage of the firepower made the mercenaries not even dare to show their heads. Although Han Shao dodged, he was still shocked by the shockwave. He did not suffer much damage, but the sky above him was exposed to the enemy's vision. He was in a very bad situation. The enemy had sea, land, and air forces. The manor was like a delicate young girl being attacked from 3 directions. He turned his head to look at the tragic situation. His eyes darkened. The mercenaries can't hold on anymore. The people outside can't hold on anymore. In the center of River Valley Manor, in the hall of the villa, 2 men looked at the battle outside the window. One of them had his hands on the windowsill. This was a bald old man with white eyebrows and a beard. He wore black-rimmed glasses. The other man stood diagonally behind the bald old man with his hands behind his back. He looked like a middle-aged man. His thick black hair was combed back, and only his temples were slightly white. If there was anything special about him, it would be his temperament. There was a faint smile on his face, and he looked very kind. The kind man laughed. "Looks like I have to do something." The bald old man nodded. "After guarding for so long, it's time for Xena to get rid of the traitor in the organization. My life is in your hands, old friend." The kind man nodded. Just as he was about to walk out, he suddenly stopped and looked at the sudden change in the battle. His eyes were slightly surprised. "Seems like an interesting guy has appeared. I don't need to do anything." The bald old man was stunned for a moment and looked outside. "Are there any snipers left alive? If we don't get rid of those 2 helicopters, we will all die here." Chun-Li hid in the fortification and roared into the walkie-talkie. The 5 serpents were very rampant. Relying on the fact that no one could attack them, they took a dump on the mercenaries. They even wanted to directly bomb the villa in the middle of the manor. Suddenly, a fiery red bullet pierced through the rain and accurately hit the side of one of the 5 serpents. The bullet cracked and burst into flames in the rain. High explosive bullet. Boom! The orange-red high explosive gas flame seeped through the gaps in the protective equipment and ignited the ammunition chain. The helicopter, which had been proud of itself a moment ago, exploded in an instant. The cannons and ammunition exploded one after another. Using fire alone to ignite the bullets was not very powerful, but this was a bunch of large-caliber bullets. The power was equivalent to that of a fragmentation mine. The people inside the helicopter were all killed or injured. The flying shrapnel pierced through the pilot's neck, and blood splattered on the window like a fountain. The helicopter spun and fell from the sky. The ground shook, and both sides of the battle were shaken. In the ruins of the left bunker, Han Shao, who had just fired the shot, pulled the bolt and ejected the smoking shell. His eyes were serious and calm. At the critical moment just now, he had put a lot of experience in a sniper and directly leveled it up to level 9. That was why he was able to fire such a precise shot and hit the ammo of the machine gun from an extremely tricky angle. This shot also led to bad consequences. The other 5 Serpent immediately focused its firepower on the left bunker. The enemy's ground forces knew very well that the helicopter was their biggest trump card, so they cooperated and focused their firepower. The terrifying wave of bullets shattered the rain and exploded on the left bunker. Big Beard's face was pale. He thought he was going to be blown to death. With his 2 short legs, how could he be faster than the cannonballs? Just as he was in despair, he suddenly felt a big hand grab him by the back of his collar. A strong force pulled him up and left at lightning speed. The next moment, the entire left bunker was blown into ruins. If he was a second slower, Big Beard would have turned into a pile of minced meat. After escaping from danger, Big Beard found that the back of his collar was released and fell to the ground. He quickly looked back at the person who saved him. In the heavy rain, Han Shao, dressed in black, jumped into his sight. Big Beard did not have time to thank Han Shao for saving his life. He said in shock, "How did you run so fast?" "Because I am as free as the wind." Big Beard was dumbfounded. "What the F***CK are you talking about?" After Han Shao finished talking casually, he slammed his feet on the ground. The soles of the electromagnetic levitation shoes lit up with a faint electric blue light, and the magnetic force erupted. He slid out like ice skating faster than a car. In a few seconds, he stepped on the outer wall of the manor. In the shocked eyes of the mercenaries, he was like a black lightning, moving left and right on the wall. He could not be locked on at all, and the enemy's firepower was all dodged by him. Eat my shadow, shifting technique. Han Xiao sniped while moving at high speed. The shooting range here was several times wider than that of the left bunker. He had just leveled up to level 9, so he could control the whole situation. The electromagnetic levitation shoes provided very stable movement ability, and it did not need to be difficult to control. The difficulty was about the same as the electric pulley, so the high-speed movement did not have much impact on his accuracy. High-explosive bullets, shuttle-type penetrating bullets, HAIM bullets, and light-stun bullets were fired one after another. These 4 types of bullets always appeared at the most needed places. One of the vehicles was about to fire a grenade at a machine gun position in the manner when a light-stun bullet appeared at the most opportune moment. The strong light from the explosion caused the enemy to miss. You are currently sniping on the move. You have learned some moving sniping techniques. 1 out of 100. You've learned a new skill? Han Zhao's eyes lit up. This was a new skill that could only be activated when one was above level 8. He fired a few more shots and realized that hitting a target equated to 1 point of progress. Instantly, he became even more excited. With the help of the electromagnetic levitation shoes, he managed to avoid most of the attacks. However, the enemy was aware of his ability as a sniper to control the situation. If they did not kill him, it would be difficult for them to move forward. Therefore, Han Xiao felt the enthusiasm of the enemy. Once again, he was focused on, and the pressure increased sharply. He was often hit by stray bullets and had to summon the magnetic retractable armor to protect his body. The last Y-5 serpent swayed left and right to prevent Han Xiao from sniping its vital parts. The cannons kept firing, and it did cause quite a lot of trouble for Han Xiao. Even with the magnetic retractable armor, it was very uncomfortable to take a few shots. The most disgusting thing was that the cannons had a knockback effect. The kinetic energy would push him away, and he had already missed a few shots. The armor on his chest took 3 more shots from the cannons. Han Zhao's chest tightened, and he was pushed a few meters away. He almost fell off the wall, but the damage was not much. He now had more than 2,000 HP, and together with the magnetic retractable armor, he was very tanky. At this time, the mercenaries in a manner started a counterattack and took the initiative to cooperate with Han Xiao. Chapter 110. Someone once said that a glance in the previous life was an ill-fated relationship in this life. If this sentence was true, Han Xiao felt that he would be an idiot in his next life. All the enemies that he shot would stare at him with eyes full of anger and hatred before they died. At the most critical moment, Han Xiao stabilized the situation with his amazing sniping skills, giving the mercenaries a chance to catch their breath. The other surviving snipers also found a more secluded spot and gradually turned the situation around. You are currently sniping while moving. You have learned some moving sniping skills. 100 out of 100. You have learned moving sniping. Moving sniping LVL1, 0/4500 reduce shooting accuracy loss while moving, plus 2% critical hit rate, plus 1% fire speed when equipped with sniper-type firearms. Han Xiao saw that moving sniping did not have much experience to level up, so he immediately threw in the experience points and leveled it up to LVL4. His control of the sniper rifle was now much smoother. The attacking enemies were already showing signs of fatigue. They originally wanted to blow a hole in the manor's outer wall with a bomb and then drive into the manor. However, the manor's outer wall was extremely thick with steel plates and concrete, and the maintenance workers were constantly repairing it, so it was impossible to blow a hole in the manor. Later, when they wanted to break through the manor's defense force, they were once again attacked by Han Xiao. The enemy deeply realized that this attack was not going to work, so they began to retreat, leaving behind wreckage and corpses. The Y-5-winged serpent turned around and flew away. This helicopter did not dare to fly at low altitude in fear of being hit by Han Zhao's bullet and being restrained by Han Xiao. The threat was greatly reduced. It's finally over. Han Xiao exhaled. His HP had dropped by about 600 points, and the durability of the magnetic armor had decreased a lot. He was slightly injured, but he had brought spare parts, so he could repair them. The nearby mercenaries were all exhausted and lying on the ground. Chun-Li walked over from afar and looked at Han Xiao in bewilderment. He asked tentatively, "Mr. Black, are you okay?" Han Xiao waved his hand, indicating that he was okay. Chun-Li heaved a sigh of relief and was secretly shocked. He never thought that this scorpion-level assassin would be more reliable than the Poisonbee brothers. It would not be an exaggeration to say that he had turned the tide by taking on the concentrated fire head-on and sniping the enemy. With such strength, how could he only be at scorpion level? Chun-Li reckoned that Mr. Black was a newcomer who had just joined the Darknet and had yet to be promoted. Based on his performance in this battle, as long as he did not die, he would definitely reach the ghost level in the future. The third round is complete. You have gained 150,000 EXP. Mission requirements changed. Fourth mission. Repel 5 waves of attacks. Reward: 40,000 EXP for every wave you repel. You will still gain accumulated EXP even if you fail the mission. Special reward: 100,000 EXP. Han Xiao was helpless. Defense mission again? Can't you change it up a little? 3 bunkers were blown up, and many mercenaries died. The defense of the manor has decreased. Is this an endless mode tower defense mission? The EXP is not bad, and there's even a special reward. So, there's a hidden requirement. What are they up to now? Han Xiao went to the logistics area to repair his equipment and replenish his ammo. Along the way, he was looked at by the mercenaries. His previous performance had won the respect of these mercenaries and assassins. No one said anything, and they all tacitly allowed him to replace the Poisonbee brothers and lead all the snipers. Those who were injured were treated, and those who were not went to sleep. The night passed smoothly. The rain stopped at dawn. The ground was muddy, and a mixture of blood and shrapnel gave off a strange pungent smell. Han Xiao was taking a nap with his eyes closed when a commotion suddenly came from the walkie-talkie. The protection target has appeared. Han Xiao immediately opened his eyes and looked at the villa. The bald old man and the kind-hearted man appeared behind the railings of the villa. All the mercenaries were alarmed and gathered around, curiously looking at the protection target who had finally appeared. When all the mercenaries and assassins arrived, the bald old man said, "Thank you for your protection these past few days. I want to talk to those whose names are called." The bald old man read out a list of names. They were all the leaders of the mercenaries and the assassins with outstanding performances. Han Zhao's codename, Mr. Black, was also called out. "These people, please come into the villa in 10 minutes. I have something to discuss with you." Mission failure condition changed. Han Xiao took a look. The restriction that prevented him from entering the villa disappeared. The appearance of these 2 people triggered a curious discussion among the mercenaries. Han Zhao's heart was in turmoil. He recognized one of them. It's him, Bennett Anderson. To describe Bennett, there was no need for fancy adjectives. One sentence was enough. He was one of the main characters of this planet. Awesome, right? There was something even more awesome. Bennett was the core character of another main storyline in Blue Star. Only through him could Han Xiao accept the main storyline mission. In other words, this guy would be the thigh that countless players would want to hug in the future. Furthermore, Bennett was also a hidden general skills instructor. Han Zhao's eyes flashed. In just 10 minutes, he made a call to the Rothschild family. "Alfonso, I hope to exchange for some items, Aren't you carrying out a recruitment mission? What do you need?" "Silver Guardian Hidden Sword. Lock HOC Sniper Rifle." "All right, I didn't expect you to have such a hobby. I'll get someone to collect them for you. I'll send them over in 2 days. You have exchanged for Silver Guardian Hidden Sword from the Rothschild family. Favorability decreased by 300. Current relationship. Friendly. You have exchanged for Lock HOC Sniper Rifle from the Rothschild family. Favorability decreased by 200. Current relationship. Friendly. Han Xiao nodded and hung up the phone. Under the gazes of the other mercenaries, he walked into the villa with the people whose names were called. The interior of the villa was simple and classic. Other than the luxurious chandelier on the ceiling, the rest of the place was not luxurious at all. The bald old man sat on the sofa, and the kind man stood behind him. Sit anywhere. Everyone sat on the sofa and chairs in the hall, but Han Xiao did not sit down. He leaned against the glass wine cabinet in the corner and stared at the kind man. This guy was Bennett. Although he looked like a middle-aged man, he was actually more than 60 years old. The more powerful a super was, the slower they would age. The bald old man pushed his black-rimmed glasses and said slowly, "Let me introduce myself. My name is Wang Yuan. I still need you guys to protect me for a while. The reason I called you here today is to meet you guys and inform you that this villa will be open to you. If you want, you can stay here and rest." Wang Yuan never heard of this name. Everyone looked at each other. They were very curious as to why they had been staying in River Valley Manor for so long. Logically speaking, the best choice would have been to seek refuge in Seagull City. Seeing that Wang Yuan did not take the initiative to explain, they knew that they would not get an answer even if they asked. They only asked about the mission and not the reason because of the nature of their profession. You guys are the backbone of the defense of the manor. Once the mission is completed, I will privately give you guys an additional reward, Wang Yuan said calmly. The eyes of many of the mercenaries lit up. The public reward for the mission would be distributed to the subordinates, but the additional reward that Wang Yuan mentioned would go straight into their pockets. This meeting was very short. The mercenaries all went back to their subordinates and moved some ammo into the villa. The villa was very big, and there were many empty rooms for some of them to rest. Very soon, the villa was bustling with activity, and people were coming and going. Wang Yuan and Bennett watched from the side for a while before preparing to leave. Han Xiao quickly caught up with them. "Mr. Black, what's the matter?" Wang Yuan smiled. He remembered the outstanding performance of this sniper last night and had a deep impression of him. Han Xiao looked at Bennett and said, "I want to talk to him alone." Wang Yuan and Bennett were both surprised. They looked at each other, and Wang Yuan smiled and walked away, leaving the two of them alone. "Why are you looking for me?" Bennett was confused. "Have we met before?" Han Xiao took a deep breath and said slowly in a voice that only the two of them could hear, "Bennett Anderson, a legendary figure who was active during the Old Era War. He was trained in the Miss Horty training camp and belonged to the Ordina intelligence agency. He was an ace-level agent and a cold-blooded killing machine. During the middle of the war, he became the leader of the most elite team in Ordina. His nickname was Demon Blue. He carried out hundreds of infiltration, sabotage, assassination, and infiltration operations. Later, he left Ordina and became a traitor. A few decades ago, his bounty was as high as 15 million. Then you disappeared for 2 years. Legend has it that you were traveling in the extreme plains of the northern continent, hunting wild beasts in the Corozo Mountains. When you reappeared, you were already one of the strongest humans on this planet. You started to intervene in the war and didn't help any country. Instead, you helped the civilians who were affected by the war to escape. Gradually, you formed a huge force, which was said to be the predecessor of the Darknet. You appeared in the center of the war again and again. As you saved more and more people, the people of that era started to call you a hero. At the same time, you also created countless shocking achievements. As the dust of the war settled, you left the world stage and disappeared. You never appeared in the public eye again. This long paragraph was the background of Bennett's character given by the officials. Some of the details were forgotten, so Han Xiao only gave a general description. Every planet had a few protagonist-like characters. They were like meteors streaking across the night sky, leaving behind resplendent traces of that era, leaving behind a thick and colorful stroke in the history of the planet. Bennett was one of the protagonists of Blue Star. Even Hela at this time couldn't be compared to Bennett. The rise of the goddess of death had to wait until later versions. After listening to Han Zhao's long paragraph, Bennett was shocked. This was the only person in the manor who recognized his identity. After a few decades, there was still someone who could recognize his appearance. Back then, he was like a block of ice, and now he was like a completely different person. He had changed a lot, so how could he still be recognized? Chapter 111. I admire your head. Although Han Xiao really wanted to say that, it was not fun to offend Bennett. He still wanted to squeeze some benefits out of Bennett. Be serious, be serious. Han Xiao coughed. I've heard of your deeds and have always wanted to meet you. Bennett smiled kindly and waved his hand. Let's not talk about the past. Why are you looking for me? Don't tell me you're here to ask for my autograph. Han Zhao's eyes twitched. Uncle Policeman, this is the person who's acting cool. After taking a deep breath, Han Xiao put on a serious face and said, I heard that you're one of the strongest humans on this planet. Bennett's eyes flashed. He was too familiar with this kind of opening. Could it be another person who came to challenge him? War created strong people with blood and fire. Bennett obtained this glory with his valiant battle record. There were many strong people who came to challenge him, but Bennett had long been tired of meaningless battles and consecutive victories. This time, he appeared here to protect his old friend Wang Yuan. He did not let the traitors of the organization who hired him know, otherwise, the enemy would not have dared to make a move. It was precisely because the traitors in the organization thought that Wang Yuan's defense was weak that the bait plan could be carried out. Bennett shook his head. If Han Xiao wanted to challenge him, he would definitely not agree. Furthermore, with Han Zhao's strength, he did not think that there was any value in fighting him. However, Han Xiao said, I want to learn some combat skills from you. Bennett was very surprised. He had a strange expression. You want to learn my combat skills? Han Xiao nodded. Interesting. This is the first person who wants to learn from me. Bennett thought about it and shook his head. You're a sniper. You won't be able to learn my combat skills. So is this. This was Bennett's standard excuse. As long as the prerequisite was not met, he would always use this excuse. You're a mechanic. You won't be able to learn my combat skills. You're a pugilist. You won't be able to learn. You're an esper. You won't be able to learn. Han Xiao naturally would not be fooled. Bennett was a hidden skill instructor. The prerequisite to learning a skill was to give him some special gifts. There was once a player who wanted to give him a gift to gain favorability, but they accidentally fulfilled the prerequisite to learn a skill. Different gifts would allow one to learn different skills. The two items that Han Xiao had obtained from Rothschild were meant to be used as gifts. Han Xiao talked to Bennett for a while before leaving. Bennett followed Wang Yuan, who was waiting not far away. Wang Yuan asked curiously, Why is he looking for you? He knows me and wants to learn my combat skills. What a strange person. Wang Yuan stroked his beard and said, But his strength is not bad. He's a new assassin who just joined the organization's Blood Pact Society. His origin is very mysterious, and his code name is Mr. Black. He's worth roping in. After this operation, I'll get Xena to raise his assassin authority to dark rank. The mercenaries were tidying up the rooms in the villa. Chun-Li took the initiative to find Han Xiao and handed him a set of keys. Han Xiao did not reach out to take it. He stared at Chun-Li with a strange expression and said word by word, Don't tell me this is your room key. I don't have that kind of hobby. The veins on Chun-Li's forehead throbbed. You make it sound like I have one. Chun-Li coughed and explained, This is one of the best single rooms in the villa. I specially left one for you. Han Xiao was enlightened. He took the key and understood what was going on. He asked, Who did you give the keys to the other single rooms? Volcano, Moonlight, Hunter, and a few mercenary leaders. The people that Chun-Li mentioned were all the strong people or leaders of the villa's guards. Being assigned a single room was the privilege of the strong. The other normal mercenaries and assassins could only sleep on the floor or in the living room. In the battle last night, Han Xiao had replaced the Dead Hornet brothers and became the core sniper. His performance had won the respect of all the mercenaries. Therefore, Chun-Li took the initiative to give him the room key. With strength, one would have special privileges. He gladly accepted it. Han Zhao's room was on the second floor of the villa with a balcony. Coming to the corridor on the second floor, the other strong people all stayed on this floor. They looked at each other, nodded as a greeting, and entered their own rooms. Han Xiao had a deep impression of Hunter. This guy was a mechanic cannon master. His weapons were two very familiar hand cannons. It was said that they could use the recoil to stay in the air. Since Bennett is here, this mission has to be completed no matter what. As long as I can connect with him, I could be the first to come into contact with the main storyline of the Sanctuary, gain the favor of the Darknet, and share their huge intelligence network. There are many other benefits. The benefits of having a good relationship with the main character of a planet were self-evident. Han Xiao rubbed the stubble on his chin with his finger. His eyes sparkled. Over the next 2 days, the enemy continued to attack every night. They were like maniacs who could not satisfy their desires, constantly stretching their evil hands towards the manor. Han Xiao took over the role of the Hornet brothers. Now, he was in charge of controlling the battlefield with his powerful sniping. His accuracy was one of the reasons, but more of his outstanding performance came from Han Xiao's keen battle sense. He had once dominated space battles. The density of the cannon fire then was like the difference between the red and white thunder fighters. They were not on the same level. In the chaotic space of space battles, one mistake could lead to the destruction of the plane and the death of the people. Every mistake would be magnified infinitely. Han Xiao had long developed the keen sense of finding opportunities in the gaps. This was the sign of an expert. Although he was shameless, he was really an expert. Facing such a small-scale, low-tech ground battle, he was very handy. His sniper bullets would always appear where he was needed the most. With Han Xiao's support, the casualty rate of the mercenaries was reduced by a lot. They were amazed by this. In the past, the Hornet brothers were more inclined to kill the enemy and rarely took care of other battlefields. However, Mr. Black's sniping style was very comprehensive. He ensured that he could kill the enemy and also take time to defend. He was almost responsible for the entire southeast and northeast battlefields. Reliable and steady. This was the impression that all the manor guards had of Han Xiao. Han Xiao's sniping ability made them feel that the battle was much easier. The threat of a sniper who could control the battlefield was self-evident. Naturally, he attracted countless focus fire. However, Han Xiao relied on his skateboard shoes to dodge the attacks. Moreover, the low-level strength and life model made him very durable. He had double the HP of a normal mechanic at this level. Even some of the espers and pugilists who were above LV40 might not have more HP than him. Therefore, Han Xiao did not need to be afraid like other snipers. Anyway, it was the first time that the mercenaries saw a sniper who dared to face a large group of enemies head-on while facing machine gun fire. It broke their impression that snipers were all sneaky. After 2 days of battle, the mercenaries' attitude toward Han Xiao became more and more respectful. There were always deaths in battles. During this period, new mercenaries and assassins were called in to replenish the fresh blood. Golden Fox was one of the dark assassins. As soon as she entered the manor, someone went to greet her. Golden Fox was a tall and graceful woman. She had a sniper rifle on her back. She asked seriously, "What's the situation here?" The mercenary who led the way glanced at Golden Fox's perky butt. His eyes flashed with lust. Golden Fox had long been used to this stinky man's greedy eyes. She pretended not to see it. The situation is not bad. The enemy's attacks are getting more and more frequent. However, our defense is very stable. All kinds of ammunition, guns, and supplies are changed every day. There are many new people joining us. Mr. Black is in charge of the defense line in the east, south, and north. There won't be any problems. The mercenary chuckled. Mr. Black? Golden Fox was sure that she had never heard of this code name. She asked curiously, "Who is he?" Mr. Black is a Scorpion-level assassin. His sniping skills are amazing. Only Scorpion level. Golden Fox felt that this was a little unreliable. She frowned and said with a doubtful tone, "Isn't it too hasty to let a Scorpion-level assassin take charge of the situation?" After saying that, the Golden Fox was shocked to find that the perverted eyes of the mercenary who was leading the way had turned cold and indifferent. He stopped in his tracks and pointed in the direction that they were heading in. He then turned around and left without saying a single word. Golden Fox was stunned. She was just a little doubtful. This reaction was a little too big. That Mr. Black was so prestigious? When the enemy attacked at night, Golden Fox finally saw Mr. Black's ability to control the situation. She was shocked. It was as if he had the legendary eagle vision. He could observe every corner of the battlefield. Almost all of his shots missed. Even if he did not cause any damage, he would have other functions such as restraining, providing support, and so on. Golden Fox realized that she had nothing to do on the battlefield. Mr. Black had taken care of everything that needed to be done. This shocked her more than the number of people that Mr. Black had killed. Only a sniper like her could understand how much Mr. Black had done. He could make the other snipers have nothing to do. It was equivalent to one person taking care of a sniper team. She finally understood why those mercenaries would let a scorpion-level assassin take charge of the situation. This is the strongest sniper I've ever met. You have defeated a wave of attackers. 3/5. Looking at the enemies retreating again, Han Xiao let out a sigh of relief. This is the third wave of enemies. They're getting stronger and stronger. However, there are more guards in the manor. With me around, as long as there are no strong enemies, I should be able to complete the fourth part of the mission. But what is the requirement of this hidden reward? As for this hidden requirement, Han Xiao had no clue at all. The next morning, Chun-Li contacted Han Xiao through the walkie-talkie. Mr. Black, someone claims to be the messenger of the Rothschild family. He's looking for you. Han Xiao immediately got up from his bed and walked to the manor's entrance. He took 2 items from the courier. No, the messenger of the Rothschild family. They were the Silver Guardian Hidden Blade and the Lock HOC sniper rifle. These 2 items were products from decades ago. They had been discontinued long ago. The country that made them had also perished. They were now considered antiques. Bennett liked to collect antique weapons that were out of print. These 2 items were the prerequisites to trigger the skill learning. There were more than a dozen items that could trigger the skill learning event. Different types of gifts would result in different skills being learned. The total number of these items was limited. This meant that the number of players who could learn skills from Bennett was also limited. Hidden skill instructors were basically like this. They would only teach rare skills to a small number of people. For example, there were only slightly more than 100 Silver Guardian Hidden Blade left in the world. They could be used to learn an extremely powerful attack skill, Flaming Will. In the later stages of version 1.0, a single Silver Guardian Hidden Blade was sold for millions of dollars. However, Han Xiao had gotten it first. He only spent a few favorability points to get it. Chapter 112. After getting the item, Han Xiao immediately went to find Bennett. Ever since the mercenaries and assassins moved into the villa, Bennett and Wang Yuan often appeared, so everyone knew that they lived on the top floor. The brown-glazed wooden stairs of the villa had a calming fragrance. Han Xiao walked up to the 3rd floor and knocked on Bennett's door. "Sit anywhere you like." Bennett was holding a cup of green medicinal tea. After opening the door, he sat on the sofa and looked at Han Xiao with a smile. He had a good impression of Han Xiao, who was the first to recognize him. So he asked, "Why are you looking for me?" "All right, let's not talk first. I made a pot of medicinal tea. Do you want to try?" he said as he waved the cup in his hand. The medicinal tea in the cup was so thick that it almost couldn't dissolve. It was a thick green color, and there were strange bubbles rolling around. Han Xiao pursed his lips. He couldn't resist the urge to complain. He pointed at the medicinal tea and said weakly, "Then what's the price?" Bennett's face was full of confusion. He didn't understand what he was saying. Han Xiao coughed and pulled the topic back on track. "I want to learn some combat skills from you." Bennett didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Didn't I already reject?" "Yeah, this is the Silver Warden's Hidden Blade?" The Silver Warden's Hidden Blade was made in a country that had already perished. That country's cold weapon manufacturing skills have been passed down for hundreds of years. Every finished product was exquisite. There were only 100 or so of this type of hidden blade left in the world. The spine of the blade was engraved with tadpole-like inscriptions. Each blade was unique, and when the inscriptions were connected together, it was a long poem from a perished country. It was very classic. Bennett stared at the hidden blade. His eyes revealed his fondness, but he didn't reach out to take it. Instead, he looked at Han Xiao and said in surprise, "You want to give it to me? How did you know that I like to collect antique weapons? You really are my admirer." Han Xiao was speechless. His actions were indeed very ambiguous, and there was no way to explain it. He thought to himself, "As long as I can learn the skill, It's fine if it's a misunderstanding. Who knows? I might even be able to get closer. After receiving the Silver Warden's hidden blade, Bennett couldn't bear to put it down. However, he felt a little troubled. Han Shao had given him a gift that was very much to his liking. Furthermore, he seemed to be a hardcore fan. Han Shao, as long as you're happy. He felt bad about rejecting Han Zhao's request. Then promise him. Bennett thought for a moment, raised his head, and said to Han Shao with a smile, I'm willing. Han Shao had goosebumps all over his body. He hurriedly took a step back and put his hands in front of his body. His eyes were vigilant and ready for battle. What are you thinking? I said I'm willing to teach you some techniques. Bennett facepalmed. Han Shao let out a sigh of relief and pretended to be angry. Can you finish your words? You should clean up the garbage in your brain. Bennett didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He shook his head, thought for a while, and decided on which skill to teach. When I was still weak in my early years, I explored a lot of combat techniques on my own. One of them allowed me to counterattack many times. I named it Flaming Will. The brain is a limiter that protects the human body. If this limiter is removed, an ordinary person without any training can also burst out with extraordinary strength. However, the sequelae are very serious. During a dangerous situation, I coincidentally removed the limiter. After exploring, I found a way to temporarily remove the limiter in battle without harming the body. Bennett started to explain the principle and carefully guided Han Shao on the essentials. Bennett Anderson, LV60, has taught you Flaming Will. Your INT is over 100 and you have met the learning requirement. Current learning progress is 3%. The teaching lasted from morning to afternoon. With the pleasant notification sound from the interface, Han Shao finally understood this ability. Flaming Will LV1. General Skill. Remark: when Bennett Anderson was young, he was once training in the Arctic plains of the northern continent. He was surrounded by 7 northern leopard bears. A northern leopard bear's size is comparable to a small tank. Believe me, no one wants to hear their roars. It usually means that they have been targeted by this group of predators in the Arctic plains. Their thick and tough skin and muscles are so thick that even submachine guns can't penetrate them. At that time, Bennett only had a dagger with him. He didn't even have a hot weapon. In a life-threatening situation, Bennett learned this skill. He used a simple iron dagger to create a lethality comparable to a high-frequency chopper. This skill has both active and passive effects. Active cooldown time, 10 minutes passive effect. When HP is lower than 20%, this skill will be activated once. Passive cooldown time, 30 minutes, does not overlap with the active cooldown. Is calculated separately. Remark: the damage increase is based on the basic attack bonus, which is equivalent to the theoretical damage value. After stacking, the damage reduction will be calculated. Awesome. Han Shao was secretly excited. He had been jealous of this skill for a long time in his previous life. He did not expect that his dream would come true today. Players had another name for Flaming Will: Mini-Universe Explosion. This was a general skill that could be learned by any class. However, the first condition was that one had to have over 100 INT. Secondly, there were only 100 or so Silver Guardian Hidden Blade in the world. In other words, only 100 or so people in the Blue Star could learn this skill. Han Shao had taken up a position. Flaming Will was a perfect match for his sniping ability. The probability of the damage increase was dependent on intelligence and luck. One of these two attributes was strong and the other was weak. If they were neutralized, it would probably become normal. With Flaming Will activated, he would be able to deal at least 3-to-1, 5 times the damage. If he added in critical hits, sneak attacks, and back sniping, he would be able to fully display the characteristics of a sniper rifle. If he used Lucky Burst to trigger a 3 or even 5 times increase in damage, the damage would definitely be incomprehensible. In his previous life, Han Shao had met a player with Flaming Will who had destroyed all of his shields with one shot. This ability had a longer cooldown time and was suitable for the critical hit style, where one shot would determine the outcome. There was a branch of the sniper style called Sneak Attack. Cough cough, it was called Sneak Attack Hidden Sniper Style. The other lock, HOC sniper rifle, could trigger a subclass mission. That class happened to lean towards stealth and concealment, which formed Han Zhao's idea. This was the idea that popped up in his head when he saw Bennett. Han Zhao was not going to trigger it now. That was a subclass mission. He felt that he had to complete the Manor Guard mission first before he had the time. Seeing how excited Han Zhao was, Bennett was puzzled. "You've learned it. Quickly." Han Zhao smiled. Bennett was surprised and took a few steps back. "Punch me and see if you've really learned it." Hearing this, Han Zhao, who had been looking forward to this segment, immediately punched him. "You have used Flaming Will. Determining authentication complete. Your next attack will deal 136% of the base damage." The fist hit Bennett's left cheek. Han Zhao felt like he had hit an indestructible wall that was harder than steel. A bright -1 damage popped up above Bennett's head. "You have entered battle mode. Based on your level, you can receive the following information. Bennett Anderson level, 60 profession. Attribute, health points. Status, hidden injury, all attributes weakened. Energy, energy rank. Grade, D+C, ability, lucky aura. Everything comes true. Danger surrounded legendary battle technique. Every 12 attacks, there is a 40 to 70% chance of adding a true damage. This chance is affected by luck. Remaining unknown. Chapter 113. Bennett touched his cheek that was punched and said helplessly, "Don't hit my face." "Are you satisfied?" Han Zhao silently glanced at Bennett's lower body. Bennett suddenly felt as if a cold wind blew between his legs. He shivered and wondered, "Am I hallucinating?" Most of Bennett's data was unknown, but Han Zhao knew that Bennett had more than 15 talents, and a few of them were molding talents. The scariest talent was not those that added attributes, attack, or HP, but the lucky aura. The description was ambiguous, but it could be immediately known how terrifying it was. Protagonist aura. The universe was extremely vast, and different planets and civilizations would give birth to 1 in a million heroes and epics. Having the lucky aura was the standard template of a protagonist. For example, if Bennett used Flaming Will, he would receive the highest number of bonuses every time. This was the ability of the lucky aura. But he's actually in a state of internal injury now. He should be able to recover in the future. Han Zhao remembered that when Bennett first appeared in front of the players, he was full of energy. He was like a human-shaped Tyrannosaurus. Bennett was Grade C at his peak, and now he was Grade D+. Grade C's standard energy rank was 2,000, and Grade D+ meant that one's combat power was at least 1,600, which was still very strong. Han Zhao's current combat power was stuck at around 800 Grade D, and with the bonus of his equipment, he officially reached Grade D. Grade could not fully reflect combat power. After all, different abilities had their advantages and disadvantages in various environments. However, as long as one's energy rank was high, it meant that one was at least very good at a certain aspect. After bidding farewell to Bennett, Han Zhao returned to his sniping post. Suddenly, he felt something and turned around. A female sniper was staring at him. Han Zhao had an impression of this woman. She seemed to be called Golden Fox, a newcomer who had just arrived the day before yesterday. Han Zhao touched his face and confirmed that he was wearing the facial simulator. He was puzzled. This doesn't make sense. Could it be that she was attracted by my handsomeness through the mask? Golden Fox moved closer to Black Panther with a charming smile on her face. She smiled and asked, "Mr. Black, I wonder if you have the time to teach me sniping techniques." As she spoke, the Golden Fox intentionally or unintentionally squeezed her breast with the inner side of her arm, squeezing out a deep curve of her chest. Is she trying to seduce me? Han Zhao narrowed his eyes. No matter what the Golden Fox was up to, he was not going to fall for it. He raised his hand in front of him and said seriously, "Miss, please behave yourself." The Golden Fox's eyes flashed. She realized that Mr. Hay had a high resistance to lust, so she immediately changed her expression. She put away her charm and put on a pitiful look. Her expression changed faster than a Sichuan opera. She crossed her arms in front of her chest and said weakly, I just want to ask for your advice. I don't mean anything else. Han Xiao narrowed his eyes. Little girl, don't waste your energy. I don't like women. The golden fox's face froze. She looked at Han Xiao in shock and stuttered. Could it be that you— No, I don't like men either. Han Xiao rubbed his chin and said, Actually, I'm not even interested in humans. Living things are boring. The golden fox was shocked. She lowered her head in panic and said, I'm sorry. She then turned around and ran without hesitation. Han Xiao chuckled. You want to use a honey trap on me? You're too inexperienced. Back in the day, I was also an impressive young man. I was just a fleeting beauty. After laughing to himself for a while, Han Xiao suddenly stopped. He let out a long sigh, took out his cigarette from his pocket, and started smoking. At this time, a car approached the manor. Han Xiao looked out and was shocked. The car was completely black. There was an emblem on the door of the car. It was a dragon circling 3 stars. It was the car of Division 13. Why are the people from Division 13 here? The mercenaries guarding the gate received Wang Yuan's instructions and opened the gate, allowing Division 13 to drive the car into the manor. Her legs, which were wrapped in a tight combat uniform, stepped out of the car. She was petite but had a beautiful curve. She attracted the attention of many mercenaries. The first person to step out of the car was Han Zhao's acquaintance, Di Su Su. At this time, Di Su Su had an indifferent look on her face. Her team members were following behind her. The group of boorish mercenaries around them whistled at her and sized up Di Su Su's figure without any scruples. A middle-aged man with wrinkles at the corner of his eyes walked out of the car. Di Su Su and the rest of the agents followed him and walked into the villa. Di Su Su suddenly felt a prickling sensation in her back, and a chill gushed out from her heart. She knew that she was being targeted by an extremely dangerous person. She immediately turned around and saw a middle-aged man in black, holding a sniper rifle leaning against the wall, staring at her. His gaze was calm, but made her involuntarily tense up. She felt a chill in her heart, and she felt a sense of danger. Who is this person? Di Su Su suddenly felt a sense of familiarity. However, she did not have time to think about it. She walked into the villa and closed the door. Beside the wall, Han Xiao looked at the backs of the agents from Division 13. The agents from Division 13 went straight to the top floor of the villa. Wang Yuan and Bennett were waiting there. Wang Yuan, long time no see. The leader of Division 13 spoke. His face was expressionless, but his tone was as if he was meeting an old friend. Mo ran. Wang Yuan nodded. It has been at least 10 years. You are one of the trump cards of Division 13, and I am the leader of the Darknet. If not for this incident, we might not have the chance to meet again. Yes. Mo Ran nodded. He saw Bennett beside him. Although his face was still expressionless, his tone was surprised. You are here too? Bennett said unhappily. Do you still want to challenge me? I have no interest in winning against you again. Humph, let's not talk about the past. Mo Ran stopped this topic. Bennett? Di Su Su and the rest were shocked. Bennett's name was well known in all intelligence agencies. Not only was he a hero during the war, but he was also one of the top 3 most dangerous targets because of his strong personal strength. Di Su Su could not help but feel nervous. Mo Ran frowned and asked, There have been battles here for more than 10 days. Although it is outside the city, it has caused a bad influence. The sound of gunfire is too obvious. What are you guys doing? Wang Yuan shook his head. We, the elders of the Darknet, have always insisted on being neutral. However, power and influence are accompanied by greed. Some of the ambitious higher-ups see us, the stubborn leaders, as obstacles in their way. They are eyeing our positions and want to replace us to control this huge force. These attackers were hired by the traitors. Xena is tracking these traitors through clues. Most of them have been eliminated. The traitors will make their final counterattack in the next 2 days, then come to Seagull City in 2 days. We will catch up, Mo Ran said. With Bennett around, he was not worried about Wang Yuan's safety. After they finished talking, Mo Ran turned around and left. Di Su Su and the rest followed behind him. The Secret Service Operations Department was the most powerful individual force in Division 13, but they were not the best. There was a small group of people who were the secret weapons of the country. They were usually in charge of guarding the branches and taking charge of the overall situation. They were rarely seen and were known as aces. Mo Ran was such a person. Every country had such people. Now, it's such an eventful time. Di Su Su sighed. It seemed that Star Dragon had been involved in a whirlpool since 3 months ago. First, it was the Germinal Organization base hidden in the territory. Then, it was the expedition to Dark Crow Valley. The source of the information was very mysterious. Furthermore, the Germinal Organization's response was very strange. The spies seemed to be looking for someone. After the Dark Crow Valley operation, the spies of the Germinal Organization became even more fearless. It was as if they did not care about being exposed. They searched crazily throughout Star Dragon. The situation in the West Capital was the worst. They had already captured hundreds of spies of the Germinal Organization under the Wind Eye, but they were all peripheral members. They could not get any valuable information from the interrogation. Ever since Han Xiao disappeared, Division 13 had sent out a large number of agents to search for him, but to no avail. All the surveillance cameras, flight records, and entry and exit records could not find any clues. Even the agents sent to search the wilderness could not find any clues. This result was unbelievable to the higher-ups of Division 13. Han Xiao seemed to have disappeared from the face of the earth. Where did he go? Where could he have gone? What was he going to do? Di Su Su had spent some time with Han Xiao before. In her eyes, Han Xiao was a mysterious person who was shrouded in mystery. She was also very curious about Han Xiao's whereabouts. Walking out of the villa, Di Su Su subconsciously looked at the man in black who made her feel threatened. However, he was already gone. The people of Division 13 got into the car and left the villa. Chapter 114. In the manor, Han Xiao rubbed his chin as he pondered. The face simulator had changed his appearance, and it was impossible to recognize him without close contact. He had escaped from Star Dragon, but the interface had not shown any decrease in favorability. Since they had not become enemies, there was still a lot of room for negotiation. Han Xiao had a deep impression of Di Su Su. This woman always liked to flirt with Li Yulin, and even though Li Yulin rejected her, she would always try to get close to Li Yulin. Even her style of dressing was similar to Li Yulin's. Han Xiao could tell at a glance that the pure friendship between girls was like the blooming of lilies. 2 days later, the sniper bullet jumped out of the gun and killed the last enemy sniper a few hundred meters away. The smoking battlefield emitted a pungent smell, and the heavily injured enemies once again retreated like the tide. Han Xiao exhaled, leaned against the wall, and sat down. He closed his eyes to ease the tension in his nerves. The waves of enemies were stronger than the last. Helicopters, armored vehicles, and even small tanks were deployed. There were also many powerful supers and elite soldiers on the battlefield, which posed a great threat. You have defeated a wave of attackers. 5/5, 4th round completed. You have received 200,000 EXP. Hidden requirement, prevent Division 13 from appearing failed. Additional 5th round unlocked. Han Xiao was stunned. So the hidden requirement was to stop Division 13. He really did not expect this. After thinking about it carefully, he understood why he had missed this hidden requirement. If he could end every battle quickly and not cause such a huge commotion, perhaps Division 13 would not have come. However, this requirement was too difficult. Even if he had guessed it, it would still be difficult to complete. Han Xiao was not troubled at all. Hidden requirements were always met with success and failure. It was normal. The original mission only had 4 rounds, but the failure of the hidden requirement actually triggered an additional 5th round. Is this a blessing in disguise? What kind of mission is it? Han Xiao was curious. Mission requirement change 5th round mission. Follow Wang Yuan and face danger. Mission failure condition, death. Reward, 30,000 EXP. Special reward, 300,000 EXP. Han Xiao stared blankly for a moment, feeling that the 5th round of the mission was strange. The reward didn't match his current points. It was actually 10 times less than the special reward. Moreover, the mission requirements were very flexible. What kind of danger should he face? The failure condition of the quest was probably set to prevent players from reviving. Bennett was protecting Wang Yuan, so the danger was most likely directed at him. This mission revealed a very obvious subtext. Hee, I'm very dangerous. 2 days ago, this was an abandoned warehouse with dim lights. At the same time, it was also Bai Jin's secret base. A wisp of nimble lightning coiled around his arm, illuminating a young face with a trace of evil in his eyes. Bai Jin flipped his palm, and the lightning entered his skin and disappeared. Ding! The computer on the table in front of him lit up. He had received an encrypted email. Bai Jin opened it. Assassination target, Wang Yuan. Location, 20 kilometers north of Seagull City, River Valley Manor. Defensive strength, 214 mercenaries, 14 Bloodpack Society killers. Moonlight, dark. Hunter, dark. Volcano, dark. Golden Fox, dark. Mr. Black, Scorpion. Complete defensive fortifications and firepower. Reward, 2 million. Bai Jin's eyes were gloomy as he said coldly, "You want me to do it for just 2 million? Do you think I'm on the same level as those trashy mercenaries and killers?" He replied with a rejection. Not long after, the other party sent a new email, directly raising the reward to 6 million. That's more like it. Bai Jin's lips curled up, full of evil and arrogance. From the beginning to the end, he only cared about the reward and did not care about the goal. Lightning Ember Bai Jin, a super criminal, had escaped the pursuit of the Six Nations countless times. His Esper ability had powerful destructive power. The number of bounty hunters, agents of various countries, and even German organization executives that died at his hands exceeded 3 digits. Even a military's encirclement was easily broken by him. Blue Star's individual combat strength was divided into 3 levels, like a pyramid structure. The bottom level was mostly supers who had just awakened not long ago and ordinary soldiers who had experienced hundreds of battles. The second level was mostly supers, such as German organization executives like Pan Kwang and secret agents of the Six Nations. The third level was very rare, at least LV-40. They were the trump cards of various countries, some super criminals, and the leaders of various forces. People like Bennett were at the top of the third level. Bai Jin happened to be an Esper who had entered the third level. In the evening, Wang Yuan gathered everyone. "I'm going to Seagull City to contact Division 13. I need to bring along some powerful people as temporary guards. The rest of you will continue to guard the manor." Before anyone could react, Wang Yuan called out names. "Moonlight, Volcano, Hunter, Golden Fox, Mr. Black, I need the 5 of you to protect me. I will increase the reward accordingly. If you're not willing, I won't force you." "No problem." Hunter was the first to speak, and the others had no objections. Han Zhao's eyes flashed. He knew that if he refused to follow, the mission would fail. He nodded in agreement, then looked at Bennett beside him and asked, "But is he going?" Bennett nodded. "I'll go too." Han Xiaoxin's heart sank. Bennett could protect Wang Yuan, which meant that the danger was mainly the assassins who followed him. Who was Brother Xiao? He was an experienced mission master. Suddenly, he smelled a strong sense of foreboding. At such a time, perhaps it would be a good choice to counter the poison. For example, saying things like, "This mission is definitely going to go wrong," or "The enemy will definitely attack, and they will be very strong," might be effective. Of course, it was more likely that his words would come true. He followed Wang Yuan into the car and set off for Seagull City. Han Xiao realized that no one in the car was talking. They all had a "don't talk to me, let me continue to be cold" expression on their faces. He couldn't find anyone to talk to. Han Xiao turned around and saw Golden Fox hiding in a corner, as far away from him as possible. When she saw Han Xiao looking at her, she quickly turned her face away, not daring to look at him. "Isn't it just a joke? Is a shadow so big?" Han Xiao said helplessly. On the other side of the forest, Di Su Su, who had been monitoring River Valley Manor, also set off. The target has left the manor and is heading towards Seagull City. A few assassins are following him. Keep an eye on him. The stars were shining brightly in the night sky, and Seagull City was brightly lit. This important town in the east of Stardragon was mainly industrial. There were many factories in the suburbs, and the huge chimneys were like fingers pointing to the sky. Because of the many factories, the atmosphere of the city was heavy. The sentry post was notified by the higher-ups and allowed Han Zhao's car to pass through. After passing through the sentry post, a black car from Division 13 was waiting by the roadside. A member of Division 13 walked up and said, "Mr. Wang Yuan, Officer Mo is waiting for you at the branch. Young man, please lead the way." Wang Yuan laughed. The member of Division 13 glanced at the 5 fully armed assassins. He wanted to say something, but in the end, he didn't say anything and led the way. The 2 cars arrived at the Seagull City branch that was under martial law. Outside the gate, the member of Division 13 expressed that those with weapons were not allowed to enter. Wang Yuan nodded and turned to Han Xiao and the rest. "Then you guys can stay in Seagull City for the night. At this time tomorrow, gather here." After that, he walked into the branch with Bennett. The assassins stayed where they were and stared at each other. Volcano was a burly Shanui person. He asked in a low voice, "What do you guys plan to do?" Hunter pouted, "I'm going to the bar to have some fun." He then looked at Golden Fox and smiled. "Do you want to come with me?" Golden Fox smiled and waved her hand. "Forget it. I'm more interested in handsome men." Hunter snorted unhappily. "Hunter, I'll go with you." Volcano laughed and looked at Moonlight. "What about you?" Moonlight was expressionless. He looked very stiff. "I'll patrol around here." Volcano then invited Han Xiao, but Han Xiao waved his hand and declined. Volcano did not insist. The 5 of them went their separate ways. The 5th round of the mission actually gave us some free time. Danger might appear at any time. Han Xiao thought about it. He did not want to miss out on the rare free time. He planned to complete the prize pool mission in Seagull City. Since danger was bound to appear, he might as well do something else. That way, he would not waste time. Han Xiao was always vigilant. It did not matter when danger appeared. There was no need for him to deliberately hide. Chapter 115. Probably someone for Division 13. Han Xiao thought for a while and understood the reason. He did not show any abnormalities and continued walking at a normal pace. He bumped into the pedestrians and stole their hard objects, keys, phones, and the like. After turning a corner, he suddenly flashed in and through the hard objects, breaking all the surveillance cameras. Not far away, in a command vehicle disguised as a truck, the screen of the surveillance camera turned black. Di Su frowned and said into the communicator, "This guy is very alert. Follow him." The person in charge of tracking him chased after him, but he was shocked to find that Han Xiao had disappeared. Di Su's face was solemn. Mo Ran was worried about these assassins, so he sent them to monitor them. The other 4 assassins were all under surveillance. Perhaps they had noticed the spies, but they had all silently allowed it. Only Mr. Black had shaken him off. Di Su remembered that it was this man in black who had given her a sense of danger. Gather all the surveillance cameras in the city and find him. The information was quickly gathered and analyzed with the facial recognition system. The results shocked Di Su. There was no one who matched the description. "Wait, have I seen this situation before?" Di Su immediately thought of Han Xiao, who had disappeared from the face of the earth. However, she immediately shook her head. She felt that she was being too suspicious. How could every missing person be related to Han Xiao? There were so many capable people in the world. Looks like I've been under too much pressure recently. Sigh. Xiao Linlin has been busy with the debt collectors and has no way to relax. Di Su sighed. Seagull City, South District, 53rd Street. This was a famous antique street. In a deserted antique shop on 53rd Street, Li Xian was locking the door and preparing to close the shop. Knock, knock, knock. Suddenly, someone knocked on the door. Li Xian looked up in surprise. An extremely handsome man was looking at her through the window. They were less than 20 centimeters apart. Li Xian's heart skipped a beat. Her face quickly turned red as if she was drunk. What do you want to buy?" The handsome man knocked on the window. "Please let me in first. I want to look at the antiques." "Oh, okay. Li Exine hurriedly opened the door and looked left and right at the handsome man. No matter how she looked at him, she felt that he was perfect. She followed closely behind the handsome man, her hands clasped nervously behind her back. The handsome man looked at Li Exine, smiled, and asked, "Are you the owner of this shop?" He smiled. This smile was too lethal. Li Exine could barely suppress the urge to scream. Seeing that Li Exine did not speak, the handsome man approached Li Exine and asked condescendingly, "Are you the owner?" The moment the handsome man approached her, Li Exine's brain buzzed. She was so excited that she almost lost her five senses. She did not hear what he said at all. Her heart was in a mess. Seeing Li Exine's infatuated expression, Han Xiao was puzzled. He touched the facial simulator on his face and asked curiously, "What did I change into this time?" He decided not to waste any more time and directly stated his intentions. "Where is Tang Shu?" Li Exine's expression changed drastically. She hurriedly retreated, knocking over a piece of furniture. Han Xiao lifted his shirt and revealed his gun. "Take me to him." The two of them arrived at a factory that had been abandoned for many years. Li Exine nervously knocked on the door. The person inside saw Li Exine through the peephole and opened the door. This was a man who was so thin that he looked like he was about to be dehydrated. It made people worry that a gust of wind would blow him away. His appearance had broken through a new realm of wretchedness. He looked like a rat that had turned into a demon, making people lose their appetite. His pair of small eyes looked around like a thief, as if he would immediately escape at the slightest sign of trouble. This wretched man who looked like a zombie had a name that matched his characteristics: Tang Shu. He was a treasure thief and a mysterious merchant. He sold all kinds of strange things, including world gossip. His whereabouts were hard to predict. The only chance to meet him was the prize pool mission in Seagull City. The prize pool mission was competitive. It allowed many people to complete it at the same time. Each player had to pay some experience to accept the mission. These experience points would be accumulated in the prize pool and awarded to the few people with the best results. Han Xiao instantly entered the door. When Tang Shu saw a stranger, he immediately turned around and ran like a frightened rat. "Stop right there. If you run one more step, there will be a second hole in your butt." Han Xiao fired a shot in front of Tang Shu. Tang Shu hurriedly stopped. He froze on the spot, not daring to move. Cold sweat flowed down his back as he stammered, "Are you Jack's man? After I finish this, I will definitely return the money I owe him. I have nothing to do with Jack. I'm looking for you for something else." "What is it?" Tang Shu carefully recalled the people he had offended. However, there were too many of them. He could not pinpoint who he was looking for. "I want to take part in this business." Tang Shu was stunned. He looked at Li Exine. "Did you find him too?" Li Exine was also confused. "No, my background is not important. Sincerity is the most important thing." Han Xiao put away his gun and calmed the atmosphere. The normal way to trigger a mission was to get Li Exine's approval. In other words, to gain favorability before finding Tang Shu to trigger the mission. However, Han Xiao skipped this process and used force to threaten them. After a friendly discussion, he finally convinced the skeptical Tang Shu and Li Exine. There was nothing they could do even if they did not believe him. Tang Shu estimated that if he said no, he would be shot in the butt. He was very decisive. "Although I don't know why you are here to help. You seem very sincere." Tang Shu glanced at Han Xiao's gun and coughed dryly. "Anyway, I welcome you to join. You have used 2,000 EXP to activate the prize pool mission. Return the antiques." Mission introduction. Li Exine's family antiques have been seized by the Municipal Museum. Your help is needed. Requirement: return 10 antiques to Li Exine. Number of participants: 1 accumulated prize pool. 102000 EXP mission requirement. Each antique returned will give 10% of the prize pool EXP. Note: antiques are very fragile. It is best not to break them. After the two's explanation, Han Xiao understood the cause and effect. Li Exine's father owned 10 famous antiques. When the Municipal Museum found out, the curator personally came and explained the various historical and cultural meanings of the antiques. He begged Li Xian's father to put the antiques on display in a museum. Li Xian's father was stunned and agreed. Later, when Li Xian's father passed away, Li Xian wanted to take back the antiques. However, the municipal museum turned hostile and denied it. They even asked the security guards to bar Li Xian at the door. They wanted to take the antiques for themselves. The municipal museum had a strong connection with the government. Li Xian had no choice but to place her hopes on a thief. By chance, she hired Tang Shu. Li Xian's thoughts could be summarized in one sentence. Even if I break the antiques, I will not hand them over to the country. After listening to Li Xian's story, Han Xiao coughed dryly and said seriously, "You little comrade, your thoughts are very dangerous. How can you call this stealing when it comes to the country? You urgently need to improve your political awareness." Li Xian was confused. "What are you talking about? Didn't you come to me and ask for help?" Tang Shu whispered at the side. "Water must have entered your brain." Han Zhao's ears twitched. He suddenly turned his head and looked at Tang Shu. His eyes were bright. He only looked away when Tang Shu's hair stood on end. Chapter 116. When are we going to start? As long as you are ready. Anytime. Tang Shu shrunk his neck and said. Han Xiao nodded to show that he understood. In his previous life, a big guild had discovered this prize pool mission. In order to maximize the benefits, they had publicized the news on the forum and attracted a large number of players. The prize pool had accumulated to an astronomical figure. In the end, they had really completed the mission. Han Xiao had beaten them to it. Although he would not accumulate such a terrifying amount of prize pool, the basic prize pool reward would definitely belong to him. As the 10 antiques had the characteristic of dropping upon death, the difficulty of this mission mainly depended on the competition between the players. However, stealing antiques from a municipal museum was not difficult at all. Han Xiao did not have any competitors, so he decided to set off immediately. Tang Shu rolled his eyes, rubbed his hands, and smiled. "How are we going to split the reward?" Han Xiao waved his hand. "I don't need your reward. Let's move quickly. I don't have much time." Hearing that Han Xiao did not want the reward, Tang Shu immediately heaved a sigh of relief. Then, he realized the problem. If it was not for the money, why would this uninvited guest participate in this mission? Li Xian's heart skipped a beat. All kinds of domineering CEO plots popped in her mind. She held her hands in front of her chest and looked at Han Xiao with a love-struck expression. "Did you do this for me? You think too much." Han Xiao and Tang Shu spent more than an hour to arrive at the municipal museum on the other side of the city. It was late at night, and the gate of the municipal museum was closed. The surrounding streets were deserted. The cameras on the electric poles were doing their job, and the red dots were flashing steadily. The two of them hid in the alley opposite the municipal museum. Tang Shu was holding a topographic map and explaining the plan. The municipal museum has a total of 3 floors. The first and second floor are exhibition halls, and the third floor is the staff area. This is the floor plan. Our target is the exhibition area in the north corner of the second floor. I've already checked the area, and the exhibition cabinets are equipped with infrared warning devices and distance alarms. Once we get within 1 meter of them, the alarm will be triggered. There are permanent guards in the museum, so we can't alarm them. My plan is to sneak in through the skylight on the 3rd floor, and then, Hey, where are you going?" Before Tang Shu could finish his sentence, Han Xiao had already strode toward the entrance of the municipal museum. Before Tang Shu could call him back, he saw Han Xiao swing his leg and kick the door of the municipal museum away. With a loud bang, the sound was so loud that it could be heard all over the street. Tang Shu was scared silly. F***CK. What happened to the promised infiltration? What are you waiting for? Go in. Han Xiao turned around and shouted at Tang Shu. "What are you doing?" Tang Shu was dumbfounded. "Your plan is too slow. It's just a museum, and at most a few cars of police officers. Don't waste time playing Assassin's Creed. Berserkers are the truth." Tang Shu had already seen the residents of the residential buildings opening their windows to look for the source of the sound. In less than 3 minutes, someone would call the police. Tang Shu had no other choice but to follow behind Han Xiao with a sullen face. He could only hope that Han Xiao was reliable, although the possibility was very low at the moment. The two jogged all the way to the target on the second floor. Han Xiao smashed the exhibition cabinets with his elbow, took out 10 antiques, and stacked them in his arms. Such an arrogant action immediately set off the alarm. The museum's guards were awakened and rushed over. "Thieves! Hurry up and catch them." Han Xiao ran with the antiques in his arms, and Tang Shu hurriedly followed behind. When they returned to the entrance of the museum, four guards blocked the way. Han Xiao was carrying the antiques, so he couldn't free his hands. He smirked and turned to Tang Shu. "It's time for you to show off." Tang Shu pointed at himself in disbelief. "Do I look like I'm capable of fighting? You chose the strategy yourself." While he was talking, the guards had already rushed over. "Don't waste time." Han Xiao kicked Tang Shu's butt and kicked him toward the guards. "Hurry up, you've been strengthened." The guards raised their batons and smashed them. Tang Shu was so scared that he hurriedly pulled out a baton for self-defense and fought with the guards. As soon as they started fighting, he was hit by the batons. He was in so much pain that he hurriedly jumped back to Han Xiao's side and cried, "No, I can't beat them. Tisk, I'll teach you a mysterious spell to double your combat power. Repeat after me, Rua." Han Xiao kicked the confused Tang Shu back into the group of guards again. Tang Shu couldn't win against Han Xiao, so he was furious and could only fight back. He really did smash two guards, but soon he was hit in the back of the head by a guard. He saw stars and staggered back to Han Xiao's side. There was a hint of crying in his voice. "I really can't do it, bro. I beg you. You have a gun, so you can fight. Can you take care of them? It's useless to beg me." Han Xiao was unmoved. Without saying anything, he kicked Tang Shu back for the third time and said loudly, "I'll support you mentally. If you need, I could give you a strong force to increase your combat power." Tang Shu, who was at the end of his rope, finally managed to beat the guards to the ground. His face was covered in bruises, and he was panting heavily. Suddenly, he felt a gust of wind blow past him, and he ran out of the door. King, wait for me." Tang Shu angrily followed him. The two walked through the alley. When they passed by a grocery store, Han Xiao smashed open the door and searched for a few big backpacks. He put all the antiques in them and stuffed a pile of sponges into them. He felt much more comfortable with his hands free. The siren suddenly rang. Four police officers who happened to be patrolling nearby immediately ran over and blocked the entrance of the alley. When they saw Han Xiao with a backpack, they immediately pointed their guns at him and shouted, "Don't move." Tang Shu was at a loss. Han Xiao suddenly grabbed Tang Shu's throat and hid behind him. He pulled out a gun and pointed it at Tang Shu's head. He shouted at the police, "Put down your guns. I have a hostage." Tang Shu was stunned. How did he do that? The four police officers had a look of, "You're King kidding me" on their faces. They didn't know what to say. A young police officer couldn't help but say, "He's your accomplice. Who are you kidding?" "TSK, you failed." Han Xiao curled his lips. Tang Shu turned his head and shouted at Han Xiao, "Do you really think you can succeed?" "I'm just trying. There's nothing to lose." Han Xiao directly threw the backpack into Tang Shu's hands and grabbed his collar. He instantly activated his electromagnetic hover boots and rushed to the entrance of the alley. The sudden burst of speed shocked the four police officers. They all opened fire, but the bullets were all deflected by Han Xiao's magnetically controlled armor. Han Xiao crossed his arms in front of his chest and used his high speed to knock away all the police officers blocking his way. The scene was like a bowling ball hitting a grand slam. Tang Shu, who was being dragged by Han Xiao, had his mouth wide open. The wind filled his throat, and his upper and lower lips were trembling from the wind. Han Xiao saw that Tang Shu was in a mess and decisively continued to speed up. This was a bar in Seagull City. The lights were dazzling, and the music was restless. On the dance floor, men and women were swaying their bodies, and their eyes were blurred. The whole place was filled with the atmosphere of extravagance and capitalism. Volcano and Hunter each had a beautiful woman in their arms. The table was filled with bottles of alcohol. Both of them were a little drunk. They walked out of the bar with the beautiful women in their arms and prepared to go to the nearest hotel to have sex. After turning into a small alley, Hunter stepped on a puddle of water. The sound of splashing water was very clear in the quiet alley. The night wind blew on both of them, and the intoxication that was burning their nerves finally subsided a little. Even when they were drunk, they still maintained basic vigilance and constantly observed their surroundings. They had long noticed the stalker from Division 13, but they ignored him. Both of them didn't notice that a pair of eyes opened in the air behind them. Chapter 117. Moonlight walked on the streets expressionlessly. He had already circled the white gull branch of Division 13 a few times. He said he was patrolling, and he was a man of his word. The cold moonlight shone on his body and seemed to be absorbed by his body, forming a faint silvery white light on the surface of his body. It was magnificent yet ethereal, giving him an otherworldly temperament. After walking past a deserted alley, Moonlight suddenly turned around and activated Moon Power, forming a white light armor around his body. His ability used the power of moonlight to increase his physical strength. His eyes turned silvery white, and his fist, which was wrapped in lustrous light, struck the air and actually hit a solid object. "Who are you?" Moonlight shouted. Under the silver radiance, a human figure appeared in the air. In the last bit of darkness before dawn, Han Xiao brought Tang Shu, who was foaming at the mouth, back to the abandoned factory and returned the antiques to Li Xian. You have completed returning antiques. Number of participants, 1 number of participants. 1 you have returned 10 antiques. You have received 100% of the prize pool reward. You have received 102,000 EXP. There were no competitors for this mission, so it was not difficult for him at all. Han Xiao looked at the interface. He had accumulated 700,000 EXP over the past few days. With the EXP in hand, Han Xiao turned around and left, waving his hand without taking a single cloud with him. Li Xian suddenly remembered that she had not asked for Han Zhao's name. She felt lost. She felt that Han Xiao was like the prince in her dreams. He would appear when she was in trouble, help her, and then leave quietly. Tang Shu squatted in the corner and drew circles. "I don't want to see you ever again," he mumbled. The sky turned bright. Han Xiao, who was walking on the street, found a shop window and used it as a mirror. Only then did he see the face of the face simulator. He was shocked and said, "Damn, so handsome. But it's not as good as my real face." Han Xiao curled his lips and saved this face. At this moment, Han Xiao saw a pair of indifferent eyes appear in the air behind him through the reflection of the mirror. Inside M.O. Rant's office in the Seagull City branch of Division 13, 3 assassins died last night. They are Moonlight, Volcano, and Hunter. Disu Su reported to M.O. Rant. Their wounds are very similar. They were cut by a sharp weapon at high speed, pierced through the heart, and slit the throat. There were signs of resistance before they died. However, according to the clues collected from the surroundings, the battle lasted no more than 10 seconds. These 3 killers are not weak. Moonlight is a psychic, and his ability is to absorb the radiance of the moon to increase his physical strength. The murderer was able to approach these 3 killers silently. Do you have a video? There are no surveillance cameras in the area where the accident happened. Perhaps the murderer deliberately chose this location. M.O. Rand said in a deep voice, "Are there any suspicious targets?" Disu Su's tone was solemn. He has the ability to conceal himself and has extraordinary speed. He can easily kill elite assassins and espers. There is a person in the Great Threat Target file that matches him. Hidden Demon. Wang Yuan's face darkened. It's him. Hidden Demon, a terrifying killer and psychic criminal. He was once a death row criminal in Raylan and was chosen as a test subject for a research project. As a result, his body mutated. Other than his eyes, his skin and hair gained a strong ability to conceal himself and change according to the environment. He was basically an invisible person. Not only that, Hidden Demon also awakened his own psychic ability, super reaction, and agility. Using his invisibility and psychic ability, he escaped from Raylan and became active in the underground world, becoming a mysterious killer. Wang Yuan was expressionless, but his eyes were cold. The price to hire Hidden Demon was astronomical. How much money did those traitors embezzle from the organization? Although Hidden Demon's ability was good at assassination, Bennett did not find it difficult. His five senses had been specially trained and were very sharp. Even if he could not see, his hearing, smell, and touch were all extended senses. He would not let Hidden Demon get within 10 meters of Wang Yuan. Wang Yuan pondered. Hidden Demon might want to get rid of my guards first. My people are most likely dead. Mo ran. Please tell the people following me to gather now. Golden Fox is resting in the hotel, but that Mr. Black got rid of his pursuers. Disu Su was helpless. Wang Yuan was stunned and sighed helplessly. Please send someone to find him. Sigh, as long as you do your best. Hidden Demon was a sniper's natural enemy. Even Bennett felt that Han Xiao was most likely dead. Although he liked Han Xiao, he was responsible for protecting Wang Yuan and could not help him. He could only pray that Han Xiao was on his own. The moment he saw the pair of eyes, Han Xiao immediately controlled the magnetically controlled retractable armor to cover the back of his neck and back. The next moment, a series of sparks flew from the armor as if it was cut by a sharp weapon more than 10 times in the blink of an eye. He already knew the danger of the 5th round of the mission, so he was ready to fight at any time. Therefore, he reacted immediately. The force of the impact came from behind, and Han Xiao was thrown forward into the shop, shattering all the glass on the floor. The enemy is invisible. Han Xiao realized the problem the moment he was ambushed. Falling into the shop, the sense of danger followed him like a shadow. The sound of someone moving quickly entered Han Xiao's ears. Han Xiao immediately slid back, took out his guns, and fired. He aimed at the direction of the sound of wind, but he hit nothing. The shells were destroyed, and bullet holes appeared on the wall. The invisible enemy hit the armor again, and the sound of friction was heard. So fast, Han Xiao could only rely on his reaction to control the magnetically controlled retractable armor to block the attack. Fortunately, the armor covered 3/4 of his body, so as long as it protected his vitals, the enemy's threat was greatly reduced. The damage value that appeared on the interface showed that the enemy was in a high agility combat mode. Han Xiao looked at the combat information and learned the name of the assassin. Hidden Demon. Han Xiaoxin was shocked and felt troubled. Just like Black Spider, Hidden Demon was also on the Blue Star most difficult boss list of version 1. 0-inch list. With the combination of invisibility and super agility, he was a natural close-range assassin. Hidden Demon is level 44, and his agility is the highest. His invisibility should only be targeted at himself, so the weapon he used to attack me could only be his fingernails. Furthermore, he is running around naked. This person is so unhygienic. My speed is not as fast as his. His agility is more focused on short-distance sprinting and dodging. Long-distance sprinting should not be a strong suit. I can use the hover boots to escape, but if I escape like this, there will be another assassination attempt. I should try and see if I can kill him first. To deal with him, I have to slow him down first. In an instant, many thoughts flashed through Han Zhao's mind. His eyes became cold, and he entered his unique battle mode. Again and again, Han Xiao used the magnetic retractable armor to block the attacks. Sparks flew everywhere, and he took out a bunch of small mechanical bees the size of candy from the inner lining of his clothes. He threw them around, and these mechanical bees flew up, shining with electric light. Shock bees, also known as bee swarm, had stingers that carried high volts of electricity. When they came into contact with a human body, they could temporarily cause paralysis. Many shock bees could even form a layer of electric net, which could be used as a control skill. This was the blueprint that Han Xiao had accidentally obtained when he was developing the hover boots. A swarm of shock bees flew around the narrow area of the shop, and the effect was immediate. Hidden Demon could dodge the attacks with his speed, but his movement was restricted and his attack frequency was reduced. Bang, bang, bang. Han Shao never stopped firing his guns, but he dodged all the attacks. Hidden Demon was faster than Pan Quan. If even Pan Quan could dodge the bullets, Hidden Demon could do better. You're good at dodging, aren't you? Let's see who has more HP. Chapter 118. You are now slightly poisoned. You will lose 3 HP per second for 60 seconds. As long as they didn't leave the range of the poisonous gas, the poison status would remain. Furthermore, the degree of the poison status would only worsen. If the Hidden Demon continued to attack, he would have to suffer the damage from the poisonous gas as well. Han Shao was not afraid at all. He had beginner strength in life, and his HP was over 2,000. He was not afraid of running out of HP at all. He was bold and decisive. He used an unorthodox method to drag the battlefield into an advantageous situation, breaking the enemy's invisible advantage. The situation was at a stalemate. The Hidden Demon couldn't do anything to him, and he couldn't hit the Hidden Demon either. Although I'm in an invincible position, I can't do anything to him. If this continues, the Hidden Demon will definitely retreat, and the final result will still be a draw. Han Shao was determined to kill the enemy who threatened his life. After thinking about it carefully, he decided to give up on the advantageous situation that he had created. He activated his hover boots and ran away. As expected, the Hidden Demon chased after him. Han Shao pretended to be a little slower in controlling the armor so that the Hidden Demon could see the flaw and clawed at his back. The 5 deep claw marks on his flesh were burning with pain, but his expression did not change. This was to test the Hidden Demon's attack on his body. You have been attacked by the Hidden Demon, LV-44. You have lost 37 HP. A single attack can deal around 40 damage, and the attack frequency is very high. If I didn't have the magnetically controlled retractable armor, my health bar would be empty in 10 seconds. Han Xiaoxin's expression was solemn. He guessed that the Hidden Demon was a strong enemy in the 5th round of the mission. Perhaps the first target was not him, but another assassin had already been killed. By constantly adjusting the speed of his skateboard shoes, he estimated the speed of the Hidden Demon's pursuit. If I maintain the power output of my skateboard shoes at medium speed, it'll be a speed where the Hidden Demon can easily catch up to me, but it won't be easy for him. I can give it a try. A new plan formed in his mind. Han Shao immediately turned around and slid toward the airport. The Hidden Demon continued to chase after him. Luckily, it was dawn, and the streets were deserted. It was not time for work yet, or else Han Shao would have been stuck in traffic. He took out his phone and quickly dialed Antonio's number, asking him to send the 2nd-generation Rangers over. He then hung up the phone and focused on fishing. Being a bait was a skill. If he made it too obvious that he had a trump card, the enemy wouldn't fall for it. It was like playing a MOBA game. If you suddenly moved forward during a matchup, others would know that you were trying to drain their health, or that there was a jungler behind you. The chase lasted for a few minutes. Suddenly, the sense of danger that was pressing down on Han Xiaoxin disappeared. He immediately stopped skateboarding and looked around vigilantly. Only then did he confirm that the Hidden Demon had escaped and did not step into his trap. The Hidden Demon was very vigilant. When Han Shao released the poison gas, he was already prepared to retreat. However, Han Shao gave up on the advantageous environment, causing the Hidden Demon to think that Han Shao couldn't withstand the poison gas. Thus, he chased after him. However, the Hidden Demon soon felt that something was amiss. Although Han Shao did not reveal any flaws, his instincts told him that he was in danger. Thus, he decisively retreated and gave up on the assassination. He's too vigilant. Han Shao was slightly disappointed. However, he quickly got rid of this feeling. If the Hidden Demon was so easy to deal with, he wouldn't be listed as the most difficult player to kill. You said that the Black Spider was easy to deal with? Yes. Although he was captured and brought to Bell of Death Island, he was not dead yet. This short and dangerous battle revealed some problems. When facing an enemy above LV-40, regardless of whether the enemy was an agility attacker or a tank, the power of the gun was not enough. The main reason was that he could not hit the enemy often, and he did not have any powerful control skills. The problem that Han Xiao was thinking about was the awkwardness of the mechanic class in version 1.0. Normal light gunpowder weapons had limited lethality when facing supers of level 50 to 60. Although the various bombs, missiles, and multi-barrel cannons were powerful enough, it was not easy to hit supers of this level unless traps were set up beforehand. The electromagnetic Gaussian gun was the next generation of weapon technology. Be it the speed of fire or the power, it had improved tremendously. It was perfect for Han Zhao's needs. Furthermore, the bullet speed of electromagnetic weapons was higher, which made it more difficult for the enemy to dodge. However, a proper, perfect, and stable electromagnetic weapon could only be created after one had learned the advanced electromagnetic theory. The advanced electromagnetic theory on Blue Star was strictly controlled. If I want to create an electromagnetic gun now, I can only try to create my own blueprint. The theory behind the portable electromagnetic gun is not very deep, and I can grasp it myself when basic electromagnetic theory is at level 5. However, to turn it into an actual object, it will require a lot of adjustments, and it will be very difficult. If I want to reduce the research time, it will be best if I can use it as a reference. For example, I can come up with many other electromagnetic blueprints and compare them. Han Xiao frowned and pondered. Not long after, Antonio arrived with the truck. He looked around and asked, "Where's the enemy you were talking about?" He ran away. Han Xiao jumped into the truck and said, "Let's go to the plane first. I need to repair my equipment and try out a new idea." "Are you using me as driver?" Antonio had no choice but to drive Han Xiao to the airport. The battle between Han Xiao and the hidden demon was not small. Division 13 found traces of him and quickly reported it. A sniper who was not afraid of the hidden demon's assassination and even forced the hidden demon to retreat, Disu Su was shocked. When she first entered River Valley Manor, it was this Mr. Black who made her feel threatened. He was indeed extraordinary. Bennett's eyes lit up. He was a little surprised. "Where is he now?" "He has some connections with the Farian group. He is on the Farian group's transport plane at the airport. He should be repairing his equipment," Wang Yuan said. "Don't summon him yet." Mo ran. "Please ask your people to help me send a message. Ask Mr. Black to return to River Valley Manor before tomorrow morning." "Okay." Mo Ran nodded. The golden fox, who had been summoned, was on the side. She was scared. Mr. Black was the 4th target, and she was the 5th. Fortunately, Mr. Black had forced the hidden demon to retreat and saved her life. The golden fox did not think that she could survive the hidden demon's assassination. "He saved my life indirectly." The golden fox bit her lips. Mr. Black was mysterious and powerful. He was good at everything, but his taste was too strong. In the workshop of the military transport plane, Han Xiao repaired the magnetically controlled armor with ease. Then, he started to think about the creation of electromagnetic guns. The best model would be a sniper rifle. With his sniping ability, he could maximize the power. He had 7 potential points. Han Xiao spent 5 points to increase basic electromagnetism, basic weapon theory, and basic energy theory to the maximum level of level 5. Then, Han Xiao used basic electromagnetism as the core to form various knowledge combinations. He came up with various blueprints related to electromagnetism. He did not expect to create useful blueprints. Instead, he wanted to create practical applications for the blueprints. He tried each knowledge combination twice at most. He used less experience to obtain more blueprints. After obtaining a large number of blueprints related to electromagnetism, Han Xiao felt a little dizzy. He rubbed his temples to relieve his mental fatigue. He thought to himself, "This should be enough. I could try creating my own blueprints." The Fabian Company did not have a supply channel in Seagull City. Han Xiao had brought along electromagnetic components. Although there were not many of them, he could dismantle them and reuse them. Of course, there would be some one-use parts that would be damaged every time. The recycling rate was about 80%. Han Xiao predicted that it would be difficult to create a stable electromagnetic gun without dozens of failed attempts as a foundation. If I want to achieve a high success rate, I can only lower my standards and create an incomplete electromagnetic gun. The power and various parameters will have to be adjusted. Chapter 119. After making up his mind, Han Xiao started to work on it. The technology of kinetic energy weapons was an important part of civilization's military power, and light weapons were even more important. The theory behind electromagnetic energy weapons was not complicated. They used electromagnetic force to propel the bullet, but the actual adjustment was very difficult. The number of coil turns, the strength of the current, the limitation of the energy source, the acceleration distance, and so on were all difficult points. Basic energy theory had reached level 5, and Han Xiao was given a new blueprint. It was a new type of energy battery, the basic energy storage cube. The players called it the Rubik's Cube. It was a precise square structure that could store 180 ona of energy. It was most suitable for storing electricity, and its capacity was many times that of a normal high-energy battery. The Six Nations were researching other types of high-performance batteries in their laboratories, such as power batteries, superconducting batteries, and even miniature nuclear batteries, which had not been developed yet. They were suitable for different purposes, and the Rubik's Cube was a type of battery that mechanics were used to because it was convenient and fast. The same theory had countless practical possibilities. The future of technology was not fixed, and different civilizations had their own technological trends. For example, when we talk about long-range cold weapons in ancient times, most people would think of crossbows. But let's assume that if the ancient people developed another type of long-range cold weapon, not a crossbow, then the common sense that we now think of as a foregone conclusion would also change accordingly. When it comes to long-range cold weapons, we would no longer think of crossbows. Therefore, the different possibilities of technology were very interesting. As for your question, if the ancient people did not develop crossbows, what would they develop? Cough. The main point was the thought process. Self-creation failed. Self-creation failed. Han Xiao continued to experiment and failed time after time. He kept perfecting the details. It's almost evening now. Han Xiao looked at the sky and felt that it was a pity. He could only stop his work and prepare to gather. Antonio walked in leisurely. Someone for Division 13 came to look for you. What did he say? Your employer adjusted the gathering time and told you not to rush over. You just have to return to River Valley Manor before tomorrow morning. Han Xiaoxin was overjoyed. This was good. He would have time to continue building. Nighttime, Wang Yuan and the other two sat in the car. It was a smooth journey back to the manor. Wang Yuan and Bennett entered the villa and returned to the room on the top floor. After closing the door, only the two of them were left in the room. Xena has locked on all the traitors and is currently hunting them down. The bait operation this time was very successful. As long as the traitors are eliminated, the organization can start implementing your idea. Wang Yuan's expression was serious. Bennett nodded solemnly. I have a feeling that war will break out again sooner or later. We need to build shelters as soon as possible. The Darknet's power is far from enough to complete the plan. I hope there will be more forces and organizations willing to cooperate with us. I don't know about the other powers, but the Six Nations will definitely agree. Wang Yuan said in a deep voice. You saw Mo Rant's attitude during the discussion. Star Dragon's upper echelons won't oppose your plan. This is good news for the Six Nations, and it's good news for all the displaced people in the world. As long as we get the help of the Six Nations, we will definitely be able to build the sanctuary. I'm just afraid that some ambitious people will covet our resources. Bennett's eyes flashed, and a faint flame of arrogance rose in his eyes. His tone was like the cold wind that blew through the north. This is a plan that can save countless lives. I will chop up whoever dares to extend their claws. Wang Yuan was about to speak when an ear-piercing sound of electricity suddenly came from outside the manor, followed by a loud rumble. The two of them looked out the window. A thick blue lightning bolt shot into the sky outside the manor, as if it was a lightning bolt that split the sky from the ground. A large black object was blown away by the lightning bolt and smashed into an armored vehicle. It was the entrance of the manor. Bai Jin, whose body was surrounded by bright lightning, walked over from afar. He was the one who had fired that stunning bolt of lightning from 200 meters away. The gate of the manor, which had withstood countless cannon fire, was blown away by that bolt of lightning. Bai Jin did not care about sneaking in. He preferred to crush his enemies head-on. The mercenaries yelled and hurriedly controlled their machine guns and howitzers to counterattack. Bai Jin had a look of disdain on his face. Electricity burst out from under his feet, and his entire body was sent flying more than 10 meters into the air. The spot where he was originally standing was bombarded by the rain of steel bullets. In the air, Bai Jin clenched his fists and straightened them, facing a machine gun platform on the southeast wall of the manor. An even more dazzling electric light spread from his chest to his fists, and a thick, spiral-shaped electric light suddenly burst out, leaving a burning mark on the retinas of all the mercenaries. Boom! The wall where the machine gun platform was located directly exploded, and the other machine gun platforms and howitzers around it were also affected. The few mercenaries who were hit did not even have time to say a word before they were turned into charcoal in the blink of an eye. The smell was pungent, and thick smoke rose from them. The power of this attack shocked all the mercenaries. A chill ran from their tailbones to their heads, and their scalps went numb. No one could take Bai Jin's attack head-on. Volcano, Moonlight, and the others were all dead, and Mr. Black was not around. There was no expert in the manor who could defend against such a strong enemy. We can't deal with a super of this level. Some of the mercenaries had the thought of retreating. Chun-Li's eyes flashed fiercely, and he gave the order to try attacking again. At this time, Bai Jin landed on the ground. The height of more than 10 meters did not injure him at all. Seeing that the mercenaries still had the will to fight, his expression turned cold. You overestimate yourselves. After saying that, he raised his hands and slammed his palms forward. An invisible electromagnetic pulse spread out in front of him, and all the electronic components in the manor emitted crackling sounds. All of them were damaged, and the place turned dark. The mercenaries were shocked. Even the cars were destroyed, and they could not escape. Despair. The darkness spread rapidly. The villa also turned dark. Wang Yuan looked at Bai Jin with a solemn expression. Lightning's Bai Jin. His Esper ability is self-generation, and he can control lightning. His potential level is very high. He is a super criminal who has been very active in recent years. He's just a young man who squanders his talent. The guys outside can't stop him. Let me do it. Bennett's expression did not change. He opened the window and jumped from the roof to the ground. He walked past the panicking mercenaries and walked toward Bai Jin. His aura suddenly increased, and he instantly caught everyone's attention. Only then did the mercenaries notice this person who had been keeping a low profile beside Wang Yuan. They were shocked, and hope appeared in their hearts again. There's actually a powerful guy hiding here. Bai Jin sensed Bennett's aura and licked his lips excitedly. He then activated all the electricity stored in his body and was ready to attack. No matter how many weaklings I kill, it will not give me as much pleasure as killing a strong one. Bai Jin's eyes were extremely arrogant, and he stared at Bennett like a hungry wolf. The car of Division 13 was hidden in the forest far away, monitoring the manor from afar. Di Su secretly broke out in a cold sweat. The destructive power displayed by Bai Jin was too shocking. It was a destructive Esper ability against a military-grade Esper. I have to report this to Officer MO as soon as possible. If a super criminal of this level has any designs on Seagull City, the consequences will be unimaginable. Di Su picked up the phone and was about to call MO Ran. On the surveillance screen, the auras of Bennett and Bai Jin were at the peak. The atmosphere was tense, and a fierce battle between powerful supers was about to break out at any time. Just as everyone held their breaths, at this critical moment, a thick cloud of blood suddenly burst out of Bai Jin's chest. Then, everyone heard a strange gunshot from afar. Chapter 120. Time moved forward. 2 hours ago. Holy SH*T. I finally succeeded. Han Zhao's surprised voice could be heard on the Fabian military arms transport aircraft. A brand new sniper rifle was lying quietly on the workbench. Its design was very different from the gunpowder sniper rifle. It was dark green in color and looked very thick. It was wide at the front and narrow in the middle. It had clear edges and corners, and the stock was hollow. It looked like a triangular bracket. The entire barrel was half embedded in the body of the gun. The exposed part of the barrel was exposed to the air, and the coil and wire were tightly intertwined. The gun was 87 meters long and was equipped with an optical multiscope. It was also equipped with an electromagnetic scanning multiscope. The two scopes could be used interchangeably. Successful. Searching database. Matching blueprints found. You have received the blueprint Ghost Sniper Rifle. Incomplete. Ghost Gauss Sniper Rifle. Incomplete. Type. Light electromagnetic sniper rifle quality. White basic stats. 183 to 246 attack rate. 2 shots/S magazine capacity. 16 shots/S range. 1,100 meters damage level. 144 requirements. 45 DX. Sniper LV6 ammunition type. Magnetic ammunition length. 0. 87 meters weight. 12. 6 pounds additional effect. Low recoil. The recoil of the electromagnetic gun is lower. Slightly increases the accuracy of the shot. Incomplete limitation 1. Power, speed, and range are lower than the complete version. Incomplete limitation 2. Due to the lack of technology, the energy consumption is very high. Each shot will consume 10 ONA's energy. Battery capacity 180. Incomplete limitation 3. Due to the lack of technology, some materials will be damaged after 20 to 30 shots, and the parts will need to be replaced. Requirements. Advanced electromagnetism LV. 1. Incomplete. Basic energy theory LV. 5. Incomplete. Basic weaponry LV. 5. Incomplete. What a pleasant surprise. Han Xiao was a little happy. He had only wanted to tinker with his own invention, and he did not expect to get an incomplete version of the blueprint. This meant that as long as the knowledge was in place, he would be able to get the complete version of the blueprint. The Ghost Sniper Rifle was a stable, light, electromagnetic weapon. Han Xiao was currently lacking 2 key pieces of knowledge, and the core of the knowledge was the advanced knowledge that was extremely difficult to obtain. He was already very satisfied that he was able to create an incomplete version of the sniper rifle. Even if the Ghost Gauss sniper rifle was an incomplete version, its output was still 2 to 3 times more efficient than Red Falcon. Furthermore, electromagnetic weapons usually had an over-the-horizon range, and the incomplete version did not show that yet. As for the limitation of the defect, Han Xiao also had a temporary solution, which was to create enough backup batteries. This way, he would not have to worry about the high energy consumption. The only problem was that it would cost a lot of money, but this was not a problem at all for the rich technician Han. He had plenty of money. Ghost material problem was handled in the same way. All they had to do was prepare the replacement materials. The ammunition of electromagnetic weapons was different from that of gunpowder weapons. It required special magnetic pellets or conductors, and it was impossible to use the special ammunition from before. This was a big problem, but given some time, he could integrate the principle of special ammunition into the magnetic pellets. However, in the short term, only gunpowder weapons could use special ammunition, so he was not prepared to throw away the Red Falcon. Then, Han Xiao created 2 clips of magnetic ammunition. At this time, his eyelids suddenly became heavy, and fatigue surged up like a tide. He held on to the table and took a deep breath for 3 seconds. Last night, he had not slept at all. First, he had completed the Return the Antique prize pool mission. Then, he had fought with the invisible demon and treated his wounds hastily. After that, he had started to develop new firearms without stopping until night fell. His body could take it, but his mental fatigue had been accumulating. That's it for today. Han Xiao rubbed his eyes and turned off the lathe. The buzzing workshop quieted down, and the cold metal returned to its deathly stillness. The people on the plane were resting, and Han Xiao did not want to stay here. He took his equipment, found a car, and prepared to rush back to the manor overnight. This way, he could avoid the situation where he could not make it in time if something unexpected happened tonight. With Brother Zhao's keen sense of smell, he smelled a strong scent of a flag from Wang Yuan's order to return to the manor by tomorrow morning. He had a hunch that if he really went back tomorrow morning, he might miss something, so Han Xiao decided to be cautious. After driving tiredly for a long time, he soon arrived at the forest outside the manor. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning shot up into the sky and reflected on his retina. Han Xiao shuddered and hurriedly braked. An enemy is attacking the manor? F***CK, this is indeed a flag. Han Xiao cursed in his heart and hurriedly turned off the engine. He carried his equipment and sneaked up to the tree. He took out his binoculars to observe the battle outside the manor and was shocked. If it's not a hidden character that I don't know, there are only 4 people in the Blue Star who have this level of control over electricity. Deuce of Lightning, Electric Eye, Ember Lightning, and a Germinal Organization executive officer. This person's lightning ability has extremely strong impact and can also release EMP, but it seems like it can only be released externally and cannot be used to stimulate the body's activity through electricity. Then his physique should be electricity resistance, not electricity affinity. This should be Ember Lightning's performance. Another famous person in the Blue Star. After observing for a while, he finally saw Bennett walk out of the manor. Han Zhao's eyes flashed, and he knew that he should not make a move. Suddenly, he realized that the hidden requirement of the 5th round was probably to solve all the problems by himself and not give Bennett a chance to make a move. Only this could explain the difference of 10 times between the mission reward and the special reward. With that in mind, Han Xiao immediately picked up the Ghost sniper rifle, opened the scope, and aimed at Ember Lightning from afar. Flaming Will, Han Xiao yelled in a low voice. Don't be mistaken. There was no need to shout to trigger the skill. He just felt that it would be more exciting this way, and the chances of Ember Lightning would be higher. 1/10 of his energy was instantly depleted. You have added Flaming Will. Your next attack will deal 180% base damage. What did I say? How can I get a critical hit without shouting the skill name? Han Xiao immediately pulled the trigger. The electromagnetic gun shook slightly, and the exposed part of the gun suddenly lit up with blue electricity. The special magnetic needle bullet was fired out of the gun and disappeared from sight with a flash of blue light. The initial speed of the bullet was about twice as fast as the gunpowder gun, making it more difficult for the enemy to react. The recoil was very small, and the impact on accuracy was negligible. The needle bullet with blue light penetrated Ember Lightning's body in an instant, and Ember Lightning had no time to dodge. The bullet hit his heart, and a cloud of blood burst out. Damage notifications appeared on the interface like a stream of water. You have dealt 200% sneak attack critical hit to Ember Lightning, LV-48. You have dealt 200% critical hit to Ember Lightning, LV-48. This attack has gained the bonus of Flaming Will. Base damage is 190 theoretical damage. X 180% equals 342. This attack has gained the bonus of critical hit. 342 by 400% equals 1,368 damage. You have dealt 1,175 damage to Ember Lightning. Damage reduction has been calculated. You have dealt a heavy blow to Ember Lightning's heart, dealing more than 1/3 of the target's maximum HP. Ember Lightning has entered a state of severe bleeding, losing 2% HP every second for 10 seconds. Ember Lightning has entered a state of paralysis, unable to move, defense reduced by 30% for 3 seconds. Ember Lightning has entered a state of weakness, all attributes reduced by 50% for 30 seconds. Ember Lightning spat out a mouthful of blood and knelt on the ground. His heart had been pierced, and all his strength was draining away. He looked in the direction where the bullet came from, his eyes filled with pain and disbelief. Bennett was also shocked. Even if Ember Lightning was an Esper and had a relatively average physique, he had the protection of energy. How could he have been hit so badly by a sniper's bullet? The power of this shot was beyond his imagination. How can I die here? Ember Lightning, who had been so arrogant just a moment ago, was extremely frightened. His face was pale as he gritted his teeth and endured the pain. Before he could finish his thought, Han Xiao, who was hiding in the dark, fired again. A stream of blood spurted out of Ember Lightning's left eye, and the bullet drilled into his brain. The third shot followed closely. It also drilled into Ember Lightning's left eye, sending his skull flying. Red and white matter splattered all over the ground. Fatal attack. Ember Lightning fell to the ground. His other intact, I was filled with frozen shock and indignation. The whole place was silent. These 3 shots were like the scythe of the Grim Reaper, silent but deadly. They carried the aura of a ruler of life and death, as if they were filled with the aura of death. It stunned the whole place. Bennett sucked in a breath of cold air. 3 shots. Only 3 shots. An Esper criminal who could fight an army head-on, who made the special agents and superheroes of various countries helpless, was killed in an instant. The surrounding mercenaries were shocked. The development of the situation was completely out of their expectations. That unstoppable enemy, like the God of Thunder, was killed in 3 shots just like that? Unbelievable. In the car of Division 13, Di Su's eyes were wide open, and her voice was trembling. Chapter 121. Han Xiao looked up from behind the scope with a surprised expression. He was also shocked by the power of the 3 shots. The second shot had hit a vital point and dealt a critical hit. Coupled with the fact that Bai Jin's attributes were greatly weakened, the damage was almost doubled. The damage of the first 2 shots was off the charts. Han Xiao estimated that a level 48 Esper like Bai Jin, who was strong in offense but weak in defense, would have around 2,500 HP. Hence, the third shot was judged to be a lethal attack, directly killing Bai Jin. Most importantly, the first shot had dealt an explosive amount of damage, which had multiplied by several times. It had directly knocked White Ember to his knees, turning him into a sitting duck. Backstab damage equals siege crossbow. This was indeed common knowledge. You have killed Bai Jin, LV-48. You have received 64,000 EXP. You have killed a target 14 levels above you. Bonus 360% EXP. Total EXP 230400. Your damage output is 100%. You have received 230,400, 100%. EXP. Han Xiao did not expect that he would be able to successfully kill a target that was above his level. He had received nearly 300,000 EXP in one go, making up for the loss of constantly fusing blueprints to create the Ghost Sniper Rifle. He still had some left over. Looking outside the manor again, the whole place was eerily silent. Everyone was stunned. They had thought that a huge battle would break out, and they were all prepared for a tough battle. However, things had happened too suddenly, and they were all stunned. Footsteps sounded in the forest, and everyone's eyes immediately focused on the source of the footsteps with curiosity, awe, and shock. At this time, dark clouds gradually covered the moon, and the silvery moonlight disappeared inch by inch. At this time, Han Xiao walked out of the forest in a black trench coat. Only the lower half of his face was illuminated. The moonlight seemed to shrink as he moved forward, and darkness spread with his footsteps. He was like a nightmare that came with the night, a ghost that was always hidden in the night. This extremely handsome appearance immediately caused a series of gasps. The image of this moment was like a brand that was deeply engraved in the hearts of everyone. Everyone knew that they would never be able to forget this scene. Mr. Black, it's actually him? Everyone was shocked. They knew that Mr. Hay was very strong, but they did not expect him to be this strong. Bennett was very surprised. He didn't expect that he would make a mistake this time. With the destructive power that Han Xiao had just displayed, it was enough to pose a threat to him. When Han Xiao came closer, Bennett couldn't help but praise, "Well done." It's just SOSO. Han Xiao never forgot to be modest. Looking around, Han Shao saw that the surrounding mercenaries were staring at him without moving. He said in a deep voice, "Don't just stand there, go do what you need to do." The mercenaries seemed to have woken up from a dream and hurriedly began to repair the manor's fortifications. They all subconsciously allowed Han Shao to give orders. Bai Jin's corpse was moved in and casually covered with a cloth. No one would forget that this was the corpse of a powerful super. Every time they saw it, their respect for Han Shao deepened. The enemy's corpse was a medal. Han Shao walked into the villa, and Wang Yuan came over. This time, his smile was no longer polite. It was full of admiration and sincerity. He said, "What an amazing 3 shots. Even this old man was shocked by you. You're too polite." Han Shao waved his hand and glanced at Bennett beside him. "With him here, your life won't be in danger at all." Wang Yuan smiled and said, "I've checked the files. The Rothschild family recommended you for this mission. Your strength is far beyond the standard of Scorpion grade. I'll directly promote you to Ghost grade." This was an obvious gesture of goodwill. Han Shao was pleasantly surprised to be promoted to Ghost grade in one try. He nodded and accepted Wang Yuan's goodwill. In the forest, Disu Su reported Han Zhao's performance with a solemn expression. "Mr. Black has terrifying sniping abilities, and his destructive power is unpredictable. I suggest adding him to the list of major threats." "Permission granted," Mo Rand said in a deep voice. Division 13 had a record of all extremely dangerous targets, which was the so-called major threat file. Han Zhao's performance had already attracted their attention, especially since he was a sniper, a profession that specialized in assassination. Early the next morning, Wang Yuan gathered all the mercenaries and stated that the guard mission was over and that the payment for the mission would be directly credited to their accounts. With all the traitors in the organization captured, Wang Yuan's goal was accomplished. As for the hidden demon, since his employer was dead, he naturally wouldn't continue to assassinate him. Han Shao checked his bank account. This time, he had received 2 million, which was twice as much as the original reward. After thinking about it, he understood that this was the extra reward that Wang Yuan gave him. His performance in the last 3 shots was worth this price. Round 5 completed. You have received 30,000 EXP. Hidden requirement: Bennett did not join the battle completed. You received 300,000 EXP. This time, there was no new chain quest, which meant that the chain quest was over. At this time, the experience points accumulated had directly broken through the 1 million mark. The reward for this mission was very generous. I've finally completed this mission. Han Shao felt a lot more relaxed. He found Bennett and gave him the Lock HOC sniper rifle. "You're giving me a gift again?" Bennett was very surprised. Seeing that the gift this time was to his liking, he said helplessly, "What do you want?" "I want to learn combat techniques." Why is it this sentence again? Bennett's head hurt. After thinking for a while, he decided to teach Han Shao the techniques that were suitable for his sniping ability. "In my early years, I was an assassin who specialized in stealth in the dark. Perhaps these techniques of mine will be of some help to you." After listening to the explanation for an hour, Han Shao received a new mission. You have triggered Level D mission, Night Stalker, class change, mission introduction. You have learned some special techniques from Bennett's explanation, but you still need to perfect them with practice. Mission requirements: complete 5 assassination missions in a dark environment. Level is not limited. Reward: receive Night Stalker class. Night Stalker, this was the subclass that Han Shao had wanted to get from Bennett for a long time. He would be able to learn skills such as stealth, and critical strike bonus. Together with his flaming will and ghost sniper rifle, he would be able to perfect the combat style of the stealth sniper style. Furthermore, he would have a chance to activate the lethal shot talent. Furthermore, this subclass was very rare in version 1.0. The attribute bonus was not low, and the experience required to level up was less than the main class. Just leveling up the main class required a huge amount of experience, and the subclass was mainly used to increase his combat abilities. After finishing the explanation, Bennett paused and said, "I can see that your ki is not strong, but your killing power is incredible. This is my number. You can call me anytime. Of course, I may need you to do something for me in the future. What do you think? Okay. Han Zhao's eyes flashed. He immediately thought of the other main mission related to Bennett. Naturally, he had no objections. They exchanged numbers. He forgot to mention that Han Technician was no longer using the black brick phone that Division 13 had given him. The guarding mission was finally over, and the mercenaries in the manor heaved a sigh of relief. They started to pack up and prepare to leave. Han Xiao walked around and received a bunch of phone numbers from the leaders of the assassins and mercenaries. He had gained a lot of connections, and these people might come in handy one day. Golden Fox took the initiative to give her number to Han Xiao and ran away in a hurry. She was in awe of Han Zhao's strength, but she could not accept his taste in women. She had no intention of doing anything. The manor became quiet, and everyone started to leave. Han Xiao drove back to Seagull City's airport and boarded Fabian's plane. After completing 2 high-reward missions, Han Xiao had accumulated a huge amount of experience. The general plan for the last period before the public beta would be based on the missions that were mainly for rewards. I have already become a ghost-level assassin. Missions, commissions, and intelligence have priority. Now that I have paved the way, as long as I do it step by step, I will definitely be able to obtain legendary points. Then, I will be free to complete the last goal, F***CK Germinal. I hope you guys can withstand my storm-like love. Han Xiao smiled slyly, but at the same time, it was very cold. In the intelligence department of Division 13, the head of the intelligence department received a file transfer report. It was an application for Mr. Black to be transferred into the file of a major threat target. Mr. Black, origin and birth unknown. Currently, he is an assassin of the Blood Pact Society. He has only completed 2 missions. He destroyed the Rose militant mercenary group in the Samar Desert and displayed extraordinary sniping skills when he was guarding the River Valley Manor. He repelled the invisible demon and killed Embers of Lightning with 3 shots. This person is extremely vigilant and has excellent stealth skills. Appendix. Once shook off the stalkers of Division 13. Furthermore, he is a mechanic. His boots have the ability to glide at high speeds. The sniper rifle he uses is a specially made weapon with amazing lethality. He requires special attention. Another powerful guy has appeared. Sigh. After reading the information sent by the Seagull City branch, the head of the intelligence department sighed. He took out his seal and stamped it on the footer of the document. Entry approved. Something big happened in the underground world. There was a shocking change in the Darknet's assassin ranking list. An unknown assassin with the codename Mr. Black had rocketed from the top 1,000 to the 23rd assassin ranking list. I have never heard of this name. What was his background? The Darknet's ranking list has always been fair. It is impossible to manipulate it. Go and find out about Mr. Black's background immediately. In the strongholds of different forces, many people were calling each other to ask around. The Underground World Intelligence Network was interconnected, and the basic information was quickly obtained. Some of the mercenaries and assassins who had fought side by side in River Valley Manor leaked the information. Han Zhao's achievement of killing Bai Jin in 3 shots had instantly attracted the attention of the underground world. The first reaction of those who knew the name of Lightning Mauler was to think that the information was fake. However, they were faced with concrete evidence. A mercenary took a picture of Bai Jin's tragic death. It was a wound caused by 3 gunshots. The experienced assassins were shocked. Although Bai Jin was strong in attack and weak in defense, he was still a high-level blue star. He was not afraid of bullets. How could he be killed in 1 shot? More people went to investigate Mr. Black's background, but they found that this person seemed to have appeared out of thin air. No one knew his previous identity. He was like a ghost that suddenly appeared and floated in the underground world. Mysterious and powerful, Mr. Black's code name began to become famous in the underground world and entered the list of many forces. The old-school theory was that assassins should hide in the dark. Being famous was tantamount to failure. However, for the Blood Pact Society, being famous was the only way to get customers. Fame was also a deterrent. Anyone who dared to threaten the dark net would have to consider whether they could withstand the continuous assassination of the Assassin Alliance. Since the veteran assassins of the Blood Pact Society died, left, or retired, the reputation of the Assassin Alliance was declining day by day. The Blood Pact Society was faintly trying to make Mr. Black their signature. Chapter 122. The ferocious-looking Thorns was traveling alone in the endless wasteland of Gorst. It was dragging a cargo compartment behind it, which made it look like neither fish nor fowl. The cargo compartment was filled with parts and materials that were worth millions. They were all items that Han Shao had purchased in one go. Han Shao was the only one in the car. As he drove, he observed the coordinate radar and headed toward a deserted city called Grey Metal Ruins. After completing the River Valley Manor mission, his favorability with the Blood Pact Society had increased tremendously. Based on this development, as long as he continued to complete missions, he would be able to obtain legendary points before the open beta. He would also be able to complete the class advancement mission and obtain the Night Stalker class. This subclass was relatively rare in version 1.0. Other than obtaining new skills, Han Shao was also planning to use it to reach level 40 and begin the second class advancement mission. The upper limit of the main class, Trainee Mechanic, was level 15. The higher the level, the more experience he would need to level up. With the current efficiency of gaining experience, adding a new subclass was a good choice. It could also improve his combat style. Before carrying out his plan to deal with the Germinal organization, Han Shao planned to build a secret base to store supplies and equipment. This would give him an escape route. Currently, the Fabian organization was very reliable. However, he was used to leaving an escape route in case he had a conflict with the Fabian organization. Although the possibility of that happening was very small, it was safer to rely on himself. Everything would change, especially relationships. Brother Shao had seen too many of such things, just like his ex-girlfriend Sai. As long as the hoe was swung well, there was no corner that couldn't be dug out. Since ancient times, deep feelings couldn't be retained, and tricks were always used to win people's hearts. If love had a color, then it would definitely be the color of forgiveness. Society was too fickle, and if one wasn't careful, it would go wrong. It was not worth mentioning. We're almost at the Grey Metal Ruins. The brownish-red ground was like solidified blood. The wheels rolled over the hardened soil, making a unique sound of friction. Through the window, he could occasionally see some strange-looking plants growing sparsely on the wasteland. It was bleak and desolate. At the end of his vision, the outline of a ruined city appeared. The Grey Metal Ruins was a dead city. Even wanderers were unwilling to live there. Only insects and beasts lived there. This used to be the capital of a country, surrounded by green plains. When the flames of war spread, the city was turned into ruins, and the plains became the wasteland of Gorst today. Civilization and wasteland merged into one on this planet. The world is always changing, for better or for worse. There was an abandoned base in the ruins of this city that no one knew about, and that was Han Zhao's target. As they approached the Grey Metal Ruins, the scenery became even more desolate. The buildings were covered in vines, and the streets were covered in moss. There was no sign of life. A few single-legged wall-jumping snakes jumped out from the middle of the road. The sound of the car's engine awakened the life in this dead city. Insects crawled out from the gaps between the houses and the roads. They lay on the side of the street and watched the car speed past. Their limbs touched their compound eyes and shook their antennae. In the south of the Grey Metal Ruins, there was a building that looked like a military base. The electric net was full of holes, and there was no electricity. Most of the buildings inside had collapsed. Han Shao drove the car in and stopped outside a semicircular bunker marked with a red sign, Hiss 539. The bunker's door was only left with a gap, and dust was floating in the air, making it a little pungent. After getting out of the car, Han Shao took out Spider Number 1 and threw it into the bunker. He had modified Spider Number 1's camera, which had thermal and electromagnetic scanning capabilities. It could also hear. After half an hour, he used spider number 1 to make sure that there were no living creatures inside the bunker. He then walked in, turned on the flashlight, and found a room in the bunker. He found a gap in the wall and pulled it open, revealing the elevator shaft behind it. Underneath the bunker was the abandoned base that he was looking for. Han Xiao knew this place very well. In his previous life, this was his base, but unfortunately, it was taken away by a guild. Back then, Brother Xiao was still a little boy who was bullied by others because they had more people. Looking at it now, he had this secret base with ready-made defenses. As long as there was a supply of energy, there was no need to worry about being attacked. He could only blame himself for being too weak back then. The underground base was big enough, and there were 2 emergency tunnels. There were spider webs and dust everywhere. Let's call this gray metal base. Han Xiao came up with a reliable name. At this time, there was no energy source in the base. Han Xiao took out many self-powered flashlights to provide light. Then, he started the most important energy modification. Gray Metal Base's original cable was connected to the power plant in the military base. Now that the entire city was dead, the power plant naturally stopped operating. The power plant was on the ground, and it was quite a distance away from Gray Metal Base. Han Xiao went to the power plant, and it was in a worse state. Many of the generators had been scrapped. However, he did not count on these old equipment. He had known that this would happen. Previously, he had spent a lot of money to buy a batch of solar generators from Fabian. He placed them in the cargo compartment and took them out one by one to replace some of the equipment in the power plant. Then he connected the underground cable to Gray Metal Base to the new solar generators. When he returned to Gray Metal Base, there was already energy. The lights were turned on, and the entire base could be seen clearly. The base that had been in darkness for a long time finally welcomed light again. The solar generators were clean, efficient, and hidden. The excess power during the day was stored in the batteries. The current power was enough to support the base's 24 hours of operation. Han Xiao started to clean the base. There was dust and cobwebs everywhere. At this time, he could not help but miss Lu Qian, who had maxed out her housework skills. Speaking of which, he had not seen Lu Qian for a while, and he missed her cooking. I wonder how she would react to me leaving without saying goodbye. Thinking about how Old Man Lu had promoted his granddaughter time and time again, Han Xiao could not help but smile. After cleaning, he moved the supplies from Thorns down. The parts and materials were stored in the warehouse. The water and canned food were placed in the fridge in the food storage room. He spent some experience points to increase his basic programming to level 10. He modified the main control room and created a chip program to coordinate the data of all the fortifications in the base. Its specific function was like a job distribution panel in a business simulation game. It was convenient to allocate energy. For the next few days, Han Xiao was modifying the base. The base was gradually taking shape. There were infrared detectors and heat detectors for the alarm system. There were small machine gun arrays and piercing traps for the fortifications. The munitions bunker on the ground was also renovated, and the metal gate was fixed. This made Gray Metal Base even more secretive. The most important thing was that Han Xiao had created 3 assistant-type rangers. After reaching the maximum level of basic programming, the low-level smart chip could store some simple operation blueprints and allow the robots to build them. It was connected to the main control system of the base and could build ammunition and other machinery without rest. Han Xiao also gained some experience points. It was equivalent to having experience points 24 hours a day. One robot assistant could provide 2,000 to 4,000 experience points per day. 3 robots would provide almost 10,000 experience points. It was very stable. The energy of Gray Metal Base was limited, and the 3 robot assistants had reached the limit. The parts and materials stored were only enough for the robot assistants to build for 10 days. Therefore, the logistics could not be interrupted. Coincidentally, Han Xiao could take this time to go out and do assassination missions, forming a perfect chain. In the early stages, if the players wanted to build a base, they could only hire a lot of mechanics to help. Due to the lack of experience points, the knowledge that each player learned was biased and had shortcomings. However, with my 3 knowledge branches leveled up at the same time, I could do all the work by myself. However, the shortcomings are also very obvious. My experience requirement is several times that of a normal player. Luckily, I know how to make money, Han Xiao thought to himself. Although the gray metal base was small, it was complete and looked brand new. Han Xiao looked at the results of the past few days of hard work, and a sense of satisfaction filled his heart. I could be considered a man with a foundation. After completing the modification of the base, it was time to deal with the germinal organization. During this period of time, he did not provoke them, and they had developed a little. Han Xiao looked at the progress of the destruction, and it had indeed decreased by a few tenths of a percent. However, Han Xiao was not in a hurry at all. The reason why he had set this target as the last was because he did not plan to destroy the germinal organization's bases one by one. He was going to do something big. Han Xiao's plan was very simple, and it was also very big. He was going to throw all the information he knew about the germinal organization's bases to the 6 nations. Crazy and deadly. The 6 nations had been enemies with the germinal organization for a long time. Once they found the weakness of the germinal organization, they would definitely not let it go. As long as he did such a crazy thing, the germinal organization would definitely suffer a huge blow. However, at the same time, the situation of the entire Blue Star would be shaken, and the original storyline might be changed. However, that was why it was so exciting. Being afraid of changing the storyline was never the mentality of a strong person. In the eyes of a chaotic person, there was no joy in an unchanging world. Han Xiao clenched his fists. Thick energy flowed in his body, and confidence beat in his chest. Now, I'm no longer the weakling who had just entered the Blue Star. I now have enough strength to fight against most of the enemies on this planet. Strength was confidence, and patience was so that one day there would be no more patience. Now he could protect himself, and he could finally fulfill this goal that he had for a long time. Han Xiao connected his phone to the computer and created an anti-tracking program to hide the number and address. Then, he dialed a familiar number. "Hello, who is this?" Feng Jun's voice came from the phone. Han Xiao joked, "Guess." Feng Jun almost choked on his saliva. This despicable voice was too familiar. He immediately recognized Han Xiao. He did not expect Han Xiao to call back. You dare to call back? You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.